Select Board meeting, October 8th, 2018, 6:02 in the evening. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? No. Okay. 6:01, we're opening the bids. This is for the replacement of countertops and sinks, faucets for the senior center kitchen. So I'll open them, and if they're not too confusing, I'll read them out loud. The name of the contractor is Renovate, Ethan Allen Highway, New Haven, Vermont. The Livingstone or Corian, $8,810. Laminate, $5,875. The 3 sinks, $1,950. 3 faucets, $1,425. Labor, $2,500. This is from Sticks and Stuff. Are you representing somebody from one of these? Oh, are you? Okay. Okay, this is from Sticks and Stuff. The Corian is 8855. Oh, what's that number? It's pretty close. Oh, this is $45 higher. 8855. The laminate, 3,525. Sinks are 820 plus 480. What's this line here? Quote for completing project by November 16th, 10,155. December 14th. It's the same price. And that's the price I see. They've added up the Livingstone, the Corian. So the total package that includes Corian is 10,155. Is that what that means on that one, or is it labor? Do you have it, Fritz?
Looks like
Or is that a grand total?
Corian's, no, there can't be a grand total. It's $2,500. So I was just going to add them up.
Okay. Oh, you're adding up. I think the senior center might prefer the Corian. You might add like they did, add the Corian.
That's what I'm adding up.
Okay. The grand total from Sticks and Stuff, everything but the plumber, for the Corian is 10,155. Who is that from? 14,000.
685. This one is the Corian line, the sinks, the faucets, and the labor.
So that's 14,000 something versus 10,155.
Right, but this one doesn't include the labor for the...
Plumbing. And I don't think that one does either, does it?
I don't know, it says completing the project. Doesn't exclude it.
Right, this one does.
So I would assume that, so that's 10,155 plus a plumber.
So this is Poolin Lumber from Williamstown, Vermont. The Corian is 8,753. Right, 8,753. The laminate, $2,647. The sinks are $347. I believe it's times two.
There's 3 sinks.
Yeah, it's 347 times 2 for the 2 of the sinks, and then the third sink is 480. So it's 3 sinks, right?
One sink was free with the Courier product.
Well, this doesn't look at it that way. This says pool, and this says
It's okay, whatever.
347 times 2.
Okay.
480 for the third. Oh, that's the faucets. Okay, you're right. That's the faucets. 480 is the faucets.
Okay, got it.
Quote for completing project by November 16th, labor is $1,545. Quote for completing project by December 14th, labor is the same price, $1,545. So you want to total so we have the total.
Let's see the total on that one.
We have the total for this one.
Yeah, 2.
Tell me who this is the first one and the second. Which one is this? They don't have their names on the actual bidding. St. Johnsbury, Vermont. Who is that? Is Sticks and Stuff St. Johnsbury?
They were Middlesex, but maybe just branch and.
They have several branches.
Okay.
They have several.
Where are the other
Stay.
ones back there?
We come up with the pools here.
So what did you write down for Sticks and Stuff? 10, 1, 5?
155.
Okay, that's what this is, Sticks and Stuff. Without the plumber.
Oh, come on.
Okay, what are the other two that you have?
He's working on it.
My fingers are not working properly.
10, 155. Sticks and Stuff, we're assuming Corian. Sticks and Stuff. I can add one up too. I just see this one. That's what I have. Where's the other one? You have both of them other ones there? Okay.
This one has an additional charge for straighters, $175.
This one I got was
It's
11
got a little.
471. Does this include plumbing? Doesn't say it doesn't.
11471 is
It
which
says
company?
plumbing contractors, plumbing connections are not included as part of this bid.
Okay, who's that one? The 11471 is who?
That's the last one you gave me. It's their name here. Poolin.
It's Poolin.
Should write it on there.
So 2 of them don't include plumbing and one appears to include plumbing for,
So that's no plumbing.
This is the actual same thing.
Did Sticks and Stuff include plumbing?
No.
no.
No? Okay, have you done the third one, Fritz?
Yeah, that was 11,471.
Okay, I need another one then. I only have 2. The 10155,
And the first one was 14,685.
14685, and that was who?
That was renovate,
Renovate.
but they apparently included the plumber.
And that includes plumbing. Can you tell
Yeah.
how much the plumbing is?
We don't know. It doesn't say. It says 2,500 for labor. The other ones don't have a breakdown for labor. This one says 1,500 for labor, so this guy,
So what's the next step here? Do you want to,
When we put the $7,500 in for we're looking for an upgrade to something like Corian.
yeah,
So we researched that to look and see what Corian versus Livingstone. It turns out Livingstone is a narrower version of Corian, it's cheaper, and there's regular installers in the state. We never intended to go with laminate. We always wanted to upgrade so it was cleanable, and we didn't have to have seams. And certainly with the laminate, you'll have to have seams, no matter how because they don't make wide enough panels to cover the area that we need to cover. They also can't give you a cove in those dimensions either.
I can't give you what?
Can't give you the cove backing in those dimensions.
This is the laminate.
Yeah,
So you're making a case you'd like, Corian, so you got 3 bids for Corian.
I got that.
So-
And I like the low bidder, frankly, because he was really upright. There was 6 and stuff.
The low bidder is Sticks and Stuff.
6 and stuff would be my preference, even if they were a little above one of the others. I just liked the way they did business, quite frankly. They were very forthright. They came in, they did the measurements, they researched what they could do. They did a really nice job.
So let me ask you, the budget, Dean, for the project, sinks everything, was $7,500.
7,500, yes.
$7,500.
Yeah.
I'm proposing for you, Gary, is the select board, could they agree on paying what's in the budget, $7,500, and allow the senior center to decide which of these 3 they really want and pay the differential? Does that work for us? It looks like it's gonna be,
55, right?
looks like it's gonna be Sticks and Stuff.
Yeah,
Well, 2 of them have no plumbing, one of them has, the Renovate has plumbing, and that's, I don't think the plumbing's gonna be, it's not gonna be $4,000.
unhooking it, we could probably do it.
So actually, I don't think the plumbing's gonna be that expensive, so that makes Sticks and Stuff still a low bidder.
Absolutely,
So that's who you wanna go with?
yeah.
Do you wanna study this, or?
No, I already know them very well, because I was spent about 2 months figuring out the specs.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board then?
I'd pay for agree to pay the budget amount, of course. And, I don't know, is the senior center prepared to pay the rest, or
I believe the senior center prepared to pay the differential.
friends of the senior center?
Okay,
Okay.
you wanna make a motion?
Make a motion to approve Sticks and Stuff as the contractor for replacing the countertops at the senior center, with the select board to pay $7,500 of the total amount, balance to be paid by the Friends of the Senior Center.
Friends of the senior center.
Didn't get all that, sorry.
We're approving Sticks and Stuff, the motion, with town paying $7,500. The Friends of the Senior Center will pay the differential,
Correct.
and that's a motion that's been seconded by Carrie.
Got it, okay, good.
Does anybody have any more questions? Ready to vote? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye? Thank you for your patience. So why don't we give these back to Dean? These are the original, or Gary, if you want to look at them. Okay. From now, for about 45 minutes, we want to look at the Thompson's Point wastewater system ordinance. Remember, with the last meeting, we made some changes to the ordinance. Then we had leaseholders guidelines, roles and responsibilities, and a letter to Lane's Lane leaseholders. So in the copy we have in our packet, I believe mine is red with the changes. And the changes are really section 305. And 305 is where we listed the costs. I think Matt suggested 1, 2, and 3. So we consolidate some of the duplication, and we've done Well, I agree, I think it's in a clear fashion. Are people okay with what they see there? Section 305. It's really the same words consolidated. I don't think we've really changed anything.
I think it's clear this way.
Yeah, I do too. Okay.
Is there a clean version of this?
Does your packet include it or not?
I don't think it was in the
I
package.
didn't see one. The only thing I got is
The markup?
on 1101.
What page is that on? Back?
I don't see a page number on it. Page 9, page 10.
Okay.
Just the lining up of 1102, the A, should be moved over a little bit, and the first offense
Oh, yeah.
line should be moved over.
All right.
I mean, it's just grammatical.
Why did we capitalize on the top of page 5? Why did we capitalize the very, very first word, structure? It says the owner of a structure may have either the structure, is that
Because
it?
structure is defined, and we decided to capitalize.
Capitalize this, okay. Okay. So sounds like we're good with this. Do you want to vote on this, or you want to see the guidelines, or how do you want to work this? I guess the ordinance we probably ought to vote on standalone, right? That's kind of an official,
First would be good to have it in effect before the
Okay.
other things.
so is there a motion?
And so, Matt, where are we going to have, or Dean Lane, anyone? Where are we going to have it as to who handles what? The town administrator does A, B, and C. Town clerk does A, B, and C. Right now, it's been unclear to me for several years who does what. I believe the town clerk has done it for 20 years, 40 years actually, because I heard Hazel Prindle did Thompson's Point stuff. So where in here or in our work will that show up? So that 10 years from now, 20 years from now, somebody's using this, they'll see who does what.
I think the collection of the money would be the purview of the treasurer.
Right. And the enforcement
Enforcement would be probably the administrative.
would be the administrator or the health officer who we've listed here.
And right, I agree. So, but does it say that the clerk or the treasurer, I should say,
I think by statute, the treasurer collects
part
all the
of this?
funds.
Actually, what it says is the commissioners shall establish separate accounts for the deposit of rents and
Where are you?
payment of expenses.
Where, what page?
Article 6, Section 601.
Well, that has happened, right? Those accounts exist. It
Right.
doesn't say they're administered, though, does it? I mean, I guess we could add to 601 that the collection of rents will be administered by the town treasurer. I don't know that we need to, but that would be the place to do it.
Is it by statute already for, you know, a municipality? I mean, the commissioners, we don't collect money. The town administrator doesn't collect money. Treasurer collects money. So is it,
My assumption, I mean, I could quote the section in statute that,
But the town administrator is the one, works for the commissioners.
But I know one of the dividing lines of incompatible offices in municipalities is the collection and the spending of town monies. So a select board member can't be the town treasurer. You know, that is, I think, pretty clear in statute that there is that separation of duties. I don't know that. You think the town treasurer wants to see a delineation?
No, I want to see it. It just seems to me like there's gray areas for the last few years between the administration office and the treasurer's office that, you know, I don't believe that it's clearly written
With Thompson's point?
with Thompson's point, you know, as to
well, there's the issue of the actual
Leases.
leases. That would belong, I would assume, to the select board.
Yeah, and not part of the wastewater ordinance. Be kind of
Yeah, that's a
a little
different,
more global than this.
yeah.
well, even if it's something we can get clear at another point in time so that I understand who's taking care of what down there. Because I don't think it's really clearly been worked out, in my opinion, what I understand.
Put something in, like the treasurer has been, the treasurer,
The commissioners designate
the treasurer to
Treasurer.
establish,
sign the treasurer.
you know, but I mean, you'd have to do that into all of three of those, 601, 602, and 603. Because the treasurer is the one that establishes all these funds to make payments.
The commissioners with the treasurer shall establish a fund.
I mean,
I don't know.
Fritz, you're quick on, not Fritz, but Matt, you're quick on looking at the statute. I mean, to me, it seems a bit redundant because no one collects money other than the treasurer. I mean, I just think it's redundant. I mean, you could probably find the statute. You don't have your computer with you today, or do
I
you?
don't have my iPad, my phone's
But I-
getting bigger.
I mean, none of us are empowered to collect money.
I would think this is specific to the wastewater, not the management of Thompson's Point.
Okay, and that's what I
So
would
I
be looking
think-
for after we establish this.
Yes,
Yes.
and with respect to, you know, can we appoint things to the treasurer, clerk slash that aren't part of
Probably
their
right.
statute?
I see what you're saying, right? Yeah, right.
I mean,
can
you could
ask.
always say yes.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to do this? Sure.
Okay, well,
can
this
always
just
ask.
brings up that I think that there needs to be some clear things for Thompson's Point going
Leases.
forward.
I mean, maybe that could be something that could go into the leaseholder guidelines, that they're supposed to pay directly to the treasurer, under the guidelines.
To the town treasurer.
Yeah, that would be,
Probably a good
I
idea,
think that would be a good thing to do, rather than
but
mess up
that's, would be the guidelines and not the ordinance. So then we're good. I'll make a motion to approve the Town of Charlotte Thompson's Point wastewater disposal system ordinance dated October 8th, 2018.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay.
Pass
you have a clean copy? What about what Frank just brought up?
Reline up the A's and B's.
Okay.
Why does it have my name
I
on
was
the
about to
back?
say, yeah,
Is it all of us or just,
we need Frank's name brought up one line so that it's on the second to last page. I saw that, I was like,
It's, yeah, number 5 on that.
did it come out okay?
that's 11 by 17?
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
So you guys are well sign as we talk? Good.
Thanks. Still last on the list.
Carry.
You misspelled my name.
No,
Yeah,
Got on that one.
you did on this one.
How many months have we been working on this?
Yeah.
Long time.
This one's correct.
Not as long as a purchasing policy by any means.
We have a more cooperative select board these days.
But you see,
After all
we
this
used it. That was the right way to use it for the senior center.
Oh, what we just did?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good. So we need to-
Okay, so now, oh, there's 2 copies?
Two separate.
notice that needs to be published and posted.
Oh, right. Okay. So now we're looking at the Thompson Point Wastewater System Leaseholder Guidelines.
And these guidelines, Dean, were put together with the folks, we started with the folks down at
What's that?
Thompson's Point.
Sorry?
We started earlier in the year, talking with them, and they've looked this all over. And
Well, yeah, it actually was put together back in the mid-2000s. And so yeah, I think we had work sessions with the Thompson's Point Advisory Committee and marked this up, and this is the result.
This is what I would call a less formal document, right? I mean, as compared to an ordinance. This is guidelines, as it says, for the leaseholders. What's holding us by statute really is the ordinance. Should be consistent.
Right.
And these are the most significant items that we extracted from the ordinance, if I'm not mistaken, such as discharges, dates of operation.
Where would you want to put the treasurer's thing on the requirements? Make it one of the
What section is that, the end
The
of the
last.
ordinance? Yeah, that'd be a good place.
Just put it as either as the first one or the last one.
He's under requirements. page-
Requirements that they pay the treasurer. I mean, if that's the way we wanna, so it says something, in this document that they have to pay the treasurer, not the commissioners.
Does it say when the bills go out on this document?
No,
water meters, it talks about
Section?
wastewater billing.
yeah, it does in the water meters part section,
It's probably the
but it
area.
doesn't have a time. It just says wastewater billing based on water meter readings.
When do they?
I think so.
I think They read the meter at the end of the season and then they bill.
They read the meter, but she bills early in the year, I believe February.
Early in the calendar year, or?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that might be,
I mean, it could be as simple as that, all payments to the town be paid to the,
Want to do it
to
that
the
way?
treasurer.
Why don't we do it that way? Make it simple then. Whatever her
And she can,
formula is, so,
however, that way it doesn't interfere with how she's billing, and she can bill the same way she's been billing, and
right. What were your words? Billing and,
all billing. And pay, or I always said all payments. All payments shall be, could be said directed to the town, shall be directed to the
oh,
treasurer.
billing and payments will be,
To the town shall be directed to the treasurer.
okay?
Something to that effect, I guess.
Overseen by the, shall be, I want to put billing in because she bills and then she accepts payments.
Right.
Billings,
Well, I
and-
want to make sure that we got it in for, we got this other part up here that talks about work outside the scope of the system operator that the town would bill for, and all this other stuff that I want to make sure that it goes through Mary to bill it out.
how about all billing and payments to the town shall be handled by the town
or
treasurer?
managed or
Managed?
Overseen,
managed?
Any of those?
What do you guys like? Managed. Managed? Managed
I like that.
by the town treasurer. Okay. Is this something we should vote on as well? I mean, each one of
I
these?
think you might as well.
Okay,
I just had a couple little things.
okay.
In the title, adding disposal between wastewater and system.
Oh, space?
Adding the word disposal, Thompson's Point wastewater disposal system.
Got it.
And then under prohibited discharges, just removing the periods at the end of A and B. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's technically one sentence with a colon.
But under requirements, those are complete sentences though, like there is a period there. Leaseholders are responsible.
Yeah, requirements is a little fuzzy because it's like its own heading.
Right, and it's got, there are verbs in there, so they're complete sentences.
Yeah, it's not the complete sentences that triggers the removing them. It's that it's there's a colon,
Yep,
and so it's part. Those are just
okay.
part of the same sentence.
So then C ought to have that period off too then.
That's the end of the sentence
Oh,
of the
that's the end of
paragraph.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Looks good.
I would say better English on conservation and system preservation. It says, if you turn the system off and the dial continues to spin, you have a leak. I would change that to say, there is a leak. Just a little more professional. All right, you guys agree with that? There is a leak?
Yeah. Maybe some of the original language. And I don't know. I'm not a fan of exclamation points.
Yeah, you can see that as a period.
Feels like
I think it's a carryover from
Someone's yelling.
It's a grammatical well done.
Do you have to put delay of use? Under number 2.
What are you saying?
Under number 2, do you really have to write delay of use, just to avoid doing laundry during peak use periods? Delay of use is kind of a redundant.
Yeah.
But I mean, it does fit in line with the late detection and the conservation,
Oh, so you're saying put
conserve water. I mean, it fits in with the format, I guess.
the way it is now, yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a colon. Yeah, that looks pretty consistent. So is there a motion to approve this as modified?
I'll make a motion to approve the Thompson's Point wastewater system, what do we call it? We can call it wastewater system. Wastewater disposal system, leaseholder guidelines revised as amended October 8th, 2018.
Second?
Okay, any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. The next one. Advisory Committee roles and responsibilities. Okay.
How many people are on a board, does it say, or a committee?
Is that in the ordinance?
Yeah. Thought it was 5.
What is it?
It says a quorum of 3 on the responsibilities, so there's gotta be at least 5.
And what pay, oh,
I'm on the responsibility.
Oh, you're still there.
I didn't look at the ordinance.
seven,
7.
So,
5 voting
five
members
voting members.
and 2 non-voting.
right.
The voting members are 3 leaseholders, 1 town officer.
So shouldn't that be on here if we're gonna put it on their roles and responsibilities?
And 1 select board member.
Where you want to put it?
I mean, it should be on here. I would assume you put it on here, majority vote required for proposals to the select board. I mean, as the Board of Sewage Commissioners for action, a quorum of 3 voting members is required. I mean, I put it in as another letter. Just to basically state, to pull it out of the ordinance and put it on their roles and responsibilities, that they maintain this,
The advisory committee.
yeah, this,
801, this is section 801, is that what
Section
you're?
801, yeah.
Should just be put
or
as a
just read
B.
according to 801 of the
Oh, you could do that
The
under,
ordinance.
ordinance.
in accordance with, under A, in accordance with section
801 of the Thompson's Point.
801
Wastewater disposal.
of,
Yeah, but then you'd have to go back and look. You can't
Well, at
shorten
least you
that
have,
up a
well, at
little?
least you have guidelines on where to look.
Yes.
Right now, there's no guidelines.
I also, to that sentence, after open meeting law, wanted to add the customary citation 1 VSA. I looked it up quickly. I think it's 310 through 314 is the actual statute for the open meeting.
and that goes in, oh, I see, the statute there, open meeting statute, yep.
Okay, so that is one DSA.
Go 310 to 314. And then in accordance with.
In accordance with section 801 of the Thompson Point wastewater disposal system ordinance. Okay,
I also saw in B, the beginning sentence and the end switched from proposals to recommendations. And after reading the document, it alternates with prejudice more to recommending versus proposing. So I thought we'd just get rid of all the proposing and just have it be recommendations coming.
majority of those required to forward recommendations to
To
the...
forward, yep, and then we could keep the, as the last word in that sentence.
So you're recommending to get rid of proposals?
Yes,
Then in number 1 of section C, we can keep recommend, with number 4 of section D, we can get rid of propose. And number 9, get rid of propose.
section D, number 4, adjustments to the contractor's okay.
So proposals are all becoming
Recommendations.
recommendations. Gotcha.
I mean, it could go either way, which to swap, but it seemed like there were more recommendations
Consistent.
there than
Do you
proposed.
need the word recommendations under D4?
It's recommend adjustments.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
because then that, you know, they have to vote.
right.
And they need 3 of them to forward any of these.
And where else did you change it?
D9.
Now we got recommend proposals.
Recommend, gotcha.
Yeah, I'd say we could just say, oh, wow. No, I would say we could get rid of proposed there too. We could just recommend
On
amendments.
D8,
D8.
get rid of proposed. Just leave recommend amendments to the.
Yeah, yep, that's a good change.
What was that last one?
D8.
D8, second word.
Recommend penalties?
Recommend amendments. D9 is recommend
Oh, okay,
penalties.
yep. Recommend proposed amendments, so just delete proposed.
Yeah. And then 10, we need a space, or is that just the way it's gonna be? Because,
What, leaseholders?
After the 10.
yeah, the R is,
Oh, the 10 is a double digit versus the
Yeah, it's
8 and
just-
9.
yeah, I guess they're all in line, yeah. Sorry about that.
And can't we shorten up 801 and put it on this roles and responsibility? Just easily put, that there's 7 members, 5 voting. You make that a little bit shorter so that it can go into this roles and responsibilities. I think it needs to.
I think there should be mention of the, maybe there's 6, or just to include the system engineer and system operator in the advisor committee roles and responsibilities. They're not mentioned at all. So
Yeah, in section 801.
it says that they're non-voting members, but maybe like number 6 should be meet with the commission and/or system engineer and operators on an as-needed basis regarding, because there are things that the engineer and the operator are going to discover that
Definitely.
commissioners need to know.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And they're doing that. It's
Yeah,
just not
but
in
it's just
this
not in this.
document.
Meet with commissioner and,
/or system
or system
engineer
engineer
and operator.
and operator.
Right, but they're part of the committee anyways.
Sorry, say that again?
Under 6, D6.
Yeah.
Meet with a commission and/or system engineer and operator.
Actually, I'm wondering if that should be under C, this committee meetings, because when the committee meets, they meet with the operator and the engineer.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, they are part of the committee, I think.
They're part of they're the non-voting members of the committee.
Right.
The system engineer and the system operator. So they're part of the committee anyway. They're just non-voting members.
It could be part of B, the last sentence could be, the system engineer and system operator are expected to be at each meeting.
I just think they should be mentioned on this page somewhere
Definitely.
in some capacity.
The The two non-voting members, system engineer and system operator, will attend regular meetings?
Put that under B, just have that.
Yeah, at the end of B.
And then don't do what, yeah, then you don't need D6 change. So you can say,
The two non-voting members. System engineer and system operator. Will attend each regularly scheduled meeting. And then the next one is committee meetings, and there's 4.
And the
calendar
committee
year.
shall look like this. And the committee shall be made up of, but let me just ask, whoever, someone's reading this page someday, will they always have this in their hand? The ordinance in their hand?
Should, I mean, really,
Okay.
this
seems
is
like
a
the only people
guideline.
reading this are the committee members. I mean, I guess someone could come ask for them, but the committee, a new committee member would get this.
They would get this, and then they would get this as well.
Yeah.
And so then they could reference to the 801 is what you're,
Sincerely hope that anybody that shows up for the committee should be reasonably familiar with the rules and where to find them. Or they probably shouldn't be on the committee.
Or they'll come up to speed quickly.
Okay, so we did not change D6 as Fritz suggested, but we did cover it under B by adding the sentence, the two non-voting members, system engineer and operator will attend regularly scheduled meetings. Okay. Okay, we left this reference to section 801 in, and we changed propose to recommend.
So section D, they're recommending all kinds of stuff except for 10, they're just reviewing. Should they review appeals and make recommendations?
Definitely.
I thought we discussed that when it was, trying to think, what the appeals would be, potentially, fines, for noncompliance, or, and I thought there was,
What we said at the meeting is kind of let this committee adjudicate an issue without bringing it up to the commissioners. I mean, give them some opportunity to solve the problem informally. You know, we have the stick in the ordinance, but the intent was for this committee to kind of adjudicate problems informally, and I don't know if 10D covers that or not.
Well, 10D means they're gonna review it and, what, throw it in a trash can? Mail it to their uncle?
Resolve as appropriate or something.
Review and then advise the commission, or
Yeah.
as
That's what I
advise the
would-
commission
I would
as
think.
necessary? They can
I
advise
think they
us.
would review it and come to the board, the commissioners, with a recommendation. Just like they do with everything else on this.
Are they the
List.
first to receive an appeal? Or are you?
officially, no. I mean, I think the ordinance, I think, has appeals go right to the
Health
commission.
department and health officer, depending what it is.
Depends on
So
what
then-
the issue is.
Do we ever get any?
No, because they get solved. That's kind of the discussion we had with Mary. There's, like the one we, has only been 1 in 20 years or something. So that's why she didn't want the stick in the ordinance, but the fact that it's there, problems tend to get resolved.
and make recommendations. Like you said, as needed.
They have an advisory role. I think if they're tasked with too much, they may not, the positions may not be I mean, they're leaseholders. I think it should be set up so they make a recommendation to the commission.
So what are you recommending for words there?
Frank had it.
Review appeals by the leaseholders to make recommendations, to make recommendations.
And make review appeals by leaseholders and make recommendation to the commissioners?
Yeah.
Yeah, make recommendations to the commissioners to how to solve the issue, because they may, it's gonna take us, once it comes to us, then we've gotta go through the process, where if the commission, if this committee can, since it's, I mean, and like Fritz said, these things don't happen very often,
Right.
if any. And if it does, why can't the committee, take the lead in it to prepare for the select board to look at it? And maybe they can come up with kind of a recommendation, maybe a resolution recommendation for us to just approve.
Their recommendation could be a resolution.
Yeah, it could be.
I would hope they all would.
Okay,
Add a colon after the title for section D, committee responsibilities.
okay.
Motion to approve the Thompson's Point Wastewater Advisory Committee roles and responsibilities, last revised October 8th, 2018. As amended?
Any other discussions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Let's do the very last thing, and we'll be done with this topic, and this is the letter that goes from Dean to Lane's Lane leaseholders, and it's a clarification of what we've just done. This is just a summary of 3 steps.
Grammatical thing going on in your sentence.
Which
Section
one?
305, sentence 1. The cost associated with extending the system to Lane's Lane is $2,400 per camp, period.
Yeah, that's good. Yep.
Probably all the changes and additions, that was a revision or a cut and paste from somewhere.
I think, well, the same thing has to change for 2 then also.
What's the? What's the issue?
What was the last thing you said, Dean?
Well, I think Fritz didn't like there's a semicolon after the camp, camp on line 1, so if we're changing that to a period, then number
Okay.
2 should also be a period.
Okay, got it.
But I don't know, Matt's the punctuation expert,
What do you
so
think?
I'll defer.
The remainder of the wastewater system.
Yeah, I think you could have a semicolon or nothing.
Has been calculated. Prorated depreciation cost for the construction of the remainder of the wastewater system has been calculated to be $10,500. So you drop the hyphen in the this.
Okay.
Yeah.
the number on the end of number 3 isn't gonna be consistent with anybody. They're all gonna be different.
Well, it's just supposed to be an example.
Let's put that in there.
Put it in there as an example.
For example,
For example.
comma, one camp.
Yep.
Kinda just-
For example, just
Yeah.
put, for example.
Yeah. I just hate to have everybody think that they're gonna,
Or you could say as an example.
Yeah.
And these dates are still good? December 7th will take effect, the ordinance?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the most recent.
This, I think,
still on that last sentence.
second to last sentence of 3. If you use an independent contractor, you will pay the contractor directly and you will also be billed for the system operator's
Yep.
supervision
Okay.
Right.
of the contractor.
I thought that this is to them from Dean.
Yeah.
It's a little more personal. I thought that,
Yeah, I was just switching the possessive from systems to operator. So crossing out the apostrophe S on system
okay,
and putting it
Oh.
on the
Put it on the end of
operators.
operator.
okay. Got it.
I do, go back, I do have a question. Before we finish.
Is there a motion to approve this letter?
Take out, sorry, this
Okay.
second, word, just keep it present tense, so I want to let you know.
Yes.
The second, word,
I want to let you.
yep,
Good.
Make a motion.
make a motion to approve the leaseholders, the letter to leaseholders on Lanes Lane, Thompson's Point, from Dean Block, Town Administrator, dated October 9th,
What did we change this to?
disposal.
Can we put it in?
Yeah,
Put disposal in.
and
Put
that's,
disposal in where it says, in the first line where it says Thompson Point
Wastewater
wastewater
disposal
disposal system ordinance. Try to keep it consistent anyways.
Yep.
dated October 9th, 2018, as amended.
Is that seconded?
I'll second that.
Any further questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
So.
I did want to ask, going back to 801, Matt, Frank, before we finish. So on that committee, there's a town officer to be appointed by the commissioners and one select board member, which we've done that. But that goes back to my question. We did not appoint a town officer.
Isn't that him?
Well, I'm not sure it's really been formally put that way.
Is this?
Has
Thompson-
it?
is this
That's what I'm
Thompson
trying
Point?
to, you know.
Are you the town officer?
I haven't, but you can redo it. I think actually none of the committee members have been formally appointed,
Yeah.
except maybe back,
This is where
10 years
there's all
ago.
that gray area.
I
of
thought I
who
was
does what.
appointed.
That's
You
more,
were, that part I agree
Select
with,
board
but I
member.
don't.
that's more
I
of
think
the
it's not
town
clear.
business. Would that be done annually?
Yeah.
Like after each town meeting, this would be one of the items of
Appointments.
This is the
business.
part that's clear, that he is, but it's not clear about the members
And
and
when,
their, and when, and who our town officer is, that is part of that. That's
So
where,
it's been Dean, so, I mean,
but has it always, it hasn't been How long have you
No,
been
but
doing
that
it?
could,
Before me was Janine, before Janine it was Tom.
but that could be something, like Matt said, that'd be something that could be like an annual appointment and could be redone every year
Well,
after.
it looks like it can be, it's a forever appointment. There's no term in the language here. And I think it could be reappointed at any point based on this. I mean, tomorrow we could decide to change the
That's
appointment.
what I'm saying. There's things that are not clear about that.
That's an administrative thing that you can work through, particularly as you make other appointments and whatnot.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. Major milestone, it's done.
Yeah.
Thompson Point wastewater, big file.
Still goes through.
Okay. Ethan McLaughlin. Step forward and give us a little overview and like why you'd like to be on trails.
Sure. Well,
You can sit down, whatever.
okay. I use the trails every week. Particularly use the Town Link Trail just because it happens to be close to my house, and I've been running on it a lot. And I don't know, I really appreciate everything that the committee and the town has done to open that up. And I feel like I'm taking advantage of it, and I want to contribute a little bit more to, helping to maintain and sort of grow this system, because I think it's a really good resource for the town.
Contributing to like a trails committee or anything like that.
I don't. I'm an attorney by training, but not necessarily a real estate attorney. I do sort of corporate and transactional work, but you probably know more than someone without any legal training. And I think that will end up being helpful to the committee as it's applying for grants and securing easements and that sort of thing.
Live in town?
Yeah, I live in town. I live in the Claflin Farm subdivision.
Well, those are volunteers. So. And Trails is a very active group. Anybody have any questions?
Make a motion to appoint Ethan McLaughlin to the Trails Committee for a term ending on April 30, 2020.
I'll second that.
Any comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Easiest interview you've ever had.
Thank you very much.
So that filled a vacancy, Dean?
There was a vacancy, right?
I see that, yeah. Good. So you're totally filled up, or we are totally filled up?
Yeah. One left. Maybe one left.
No, I have them all filled, but anyway.
Jordan.
Jordan is not on.
Who isn't?
Jordan.
Oh, he's Blucher, he's gone?
He's gone.
Okay, we have a vacancy. Okay. I know, my book, well, it's new every year. Only need one color. Okay. Is there public comment? This is public comment time.
I'm Matt Zucker.
Oh, hi, Matt.
Got a request from a number of neighbors on Churchill Road that the board ask for a speed study from the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission for a residential area of Mutton Hill. A number of neighbors have gathered together, some of whom are here with me today. Concerns about the speed, the posted speed in that section is 50 miles an hour. I just want to make a couple of points about that. There was a study done in 2008, a speed study done on Churchill, and it was done down in the southern section of the road where the setbacks are different and the speeds are higher. So you will see a speed study on record, but it's not really relevant to the particular area of Churchill around the Monkton Hill, Tavern Road area, if you're familiar with that. The second point is that area has had a real dramatic change in its character really over the past couple of years. A lot more residential density, number of young families with kids who are now standing at the side of the road waiting for a bus, something we hadn't seen on that road for a number of years. And you've even got one particular property, the old tavern, that was commercial, turned over to residential use. So you've got some changes in the character of that area in particular. But again, it's an area where the setbacks are much tighter, closer to the road, and you've got now, we count 4 or 5 new families in that area. And then the third point is, you know, that area of Church Hill, we're sort of in spitting distance of Route 7, which, you know, is designated in the town plan as the high-speed corridor through the town. Well, here we are within spitting distance of Route 7 with the exact same posted speed limit as Route 7, which sort of doesn't really make sense. Residential area right up close to the designated high-speed corridor, and they both have the same posted speed limit of 50 miles an hour. So what a speed study will do is give us sort of a factual basis for taking a look at whether that's the right speed. 50 for that section of Church Hill is the right speed for that section. And then we can, you know, have a conversation from there once we're working from that same bit of data. So again, I called the Regional Planning Commission and asked them if this was the kind of speed study that would be in line with what they do. They said, yes, this is, you know, kind of circumstances where they are called in for this, and as you all know, no cost to the town. The Regional Planning Commission does this as a matter of course. So that's the request, and I'm not sure what the process is for the select board considering, whether you consider now and make a decision or you table that, but we'd be interested in hearing the select board's view on that.
Did you check and see what the availability is of them to do a speed study? Isn't it the next?
I haven't yet, no. I wanted to see if the select board wanted to proceed with it before I checked with them.
I mean, is the board okay with authorizing this? I mean, because I have grandchildren are up there all the time too. And you're right, that Mountain Hill bus stop has 10 kids there. I mean, it's a lot of activity.
I think when I talked to the planning commission, they said there's a little bit of lead time required. I think what makes most sense is, first of all, doing it within the school year, but also not in the dead of winter. So we'll just have to see what their schedule is, but I think, you know,
Well,
whatever
the
makes
speed
sense.
study, as you know, allows us to look at adjusting the speed. So you have to do that first.
Right,
Then I think you can do what, 80%, 85th percentile of what the average speed is that goes through there.
Yeah, and I talked to both Dean and Daryl about, there's actually 2 measuring points. Daryl, I guess, who'd done this in a prior lifetime, done a lot of these speed studies, has had some very specific thoughts about where might be the appropriate places to set the speed study, and see some recommendations on that.
I mean, like you said, Mount Hill, Tavern Road, maybe a little further south, you know, a
Yeah.
couple bands there, that'd be great.
It's a straightaway where you start to see a lot of houses, you know, close to the road. That's basically it.
Should we make a motion to authorize a speed study?
Sure. I'll make a motion to authorize a speed study on Church Hill Road, adjacent to Mountain Hill.
CCRPC.
Yeah.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I just want to say, I think it's very exciting that you've had a lot of the turnover and new young families, because I experienced that in East Charlotte 4 and 5 years ago is when we had quite a few families come in with children and whatnot, so it's exciting.
We see baby strollers
Yeah.
being pushed along the street,
Yeah.
and kids riding their bicycles. It's actually a nice change.
Yeah, I know, right,
Thank you.
yeah.
All in favor of the motion? Say aye. Aye. Thank you, Matt, for coming in. I think it needs to be done. Any other public comments? UVM cycling road race? Come forward, please.
How are you doing?
Good. And I gotta get my notes out. You are?
My name's Zach Weimer. I'm here representing the UVM cycling team. We're hoping to put on a road race in the spring of 2019 in the town of Charlotte. It's on a course that we've hosted in the past. I've got a map and a description here if any of the select board members would like a copy.
I think we have it in a packet.
Perfect. So yeah, it's planned to be starting out with staging parking at Charlotte Central School, and then it'll be a loop along Heinsberg Road, Spear Street, and then Mount Philo Road. We're going to be in contact with the state parks to hopefully get access to Mount Philo itself so that we can have the race finish at the top of the hill. So any questions you may have for me, any concerns?
You know, the park may not be open on these dates.
Yeah, we're hoping to get the race scheduled in April so that ideally we'll be missing any freak snowstorms towards the transition from winter into spring.
The snow hangs up there on the upper third.
Right.
Well, in through April, I think.
Yeah. I know we have hosted it once in the past where we have gotten it to finish up on Philo, but should we not have access to Mount Philo, we'll simply cut that out of the course and have the finish be on the circuit itself instead.
Okay.
So you've only done it once in 2014, is that what?
2014 was the most recent year. It was planned again in 2015, but it was canceled due to snow. And then last year we wound up not hosting.
And did you do it somewhere else? Or-
Nope.
And then I read about being able to go more than 2 abreast.
Yeah,
What's
so
the scoop on that?
the way that collegiate cycling races work is there's typically a main group of riders that's within the race. And for that to work, we file a permit with the state police that allows us to ride more than 2 abreast, but not over the double yellow line. So the main pack of racers would take up 1 lane of the road, and riders who get dropped off if the pace is too fast, for example, will then have to adhere to the rules of the road and ride along the shoulder, single file, to stay out of the way of other traffic.
This is the one we had a little trouble with on Mount Philo corner that one time. I think this one in 2014, where it was like very mumbo jumbo.
There was a
and
lot of,
Mount
I think the
Philo
course
Road.
finish was at the intersection of
Yeah.
Mount Philo and Heinsberg Road.
Okay.
And
Was
the
not-
participants and people coming to cheer them on were in the road itself.
Okay,
And so the road got bottlenecked from regular traffic, even when there were no bicycles there.
right. Yeah, that's
I
good
heard
to
more
know.
about
So that can be
this
something
than-
that we can plan for that intersection to make sure we make it clear that people can't be in the road.
Right.
You know, anything
Keep
at the
it clear.
park, whether you go up the mountain or not, you know, there's plenty of space for
The parking.
gathering as you finish.
Right, so that should be open down there since the park itself won't be open at that point.
That's a
Because
nice,
it's a Saturday.
Yep, Saturday.
No, Saturday, like is fine on Heinsberg Charlotte Road, but Spear Street and Mount Philo, it's local people needing to do their business
Right.
throughout the town, and that's a lot of, it would be going from 7:30 to 5.
Racing would start, approximately around 8 in the morning. I'm guessing it would finish up around 4 or 5.
so is it multiple waves?
Yeah, multiple waves. So there are typically A through D fields for men's races, and then A through C for women. And the first event of the day is a team time trial, so that'll last the first half of the race day, and then the second half is the road race itself, which is more of a mass start. So the team time trial shouldn't be as bad as the road race in terms of taking up a lane of traffic. That event is when there are 3 or 4 cyclists at a time that go off, about a minute apart from each other. And that could be something that we could organize so that we could ask riders to stay on the shoulder of the road. So it's less of an impediment to traffic.
We don't really have shoulders, do we, on those roads? Not much. I don't-
not as in over off of a white line, but
Right.
more off to the right-hand side of the road, as opposed to riding in the center or riding more than 2 abreast and taking up a lane all the way to the double yellow.
Charlotte wakes up about 10:30, and starts moving around. And I heard more complaints about this than any other, by Grace, to be honest with you. This was not one of Charlotte's favorite.
Well, I just noticed Charlotte Fire Rescue has not been notified.
They have.
They have.
They have since this.
Zach has notified them, and I also talked with Rob today. They need to finalize the arrangements for the ambulance, for standby ambulance.
Okay.
It would be something that they would have to pay for.
And I see you have 5 marshals and 3 police.
So that would be the plan
officers,
for now, at this point.
Do you
If
have
there
any-
were any further concerns with wanting more marshals, more police officers, we could accommodate that as well.
Any comments, Bill?
Yes, hi, Bill from Recreation, nice to meet you.
Hey.
It's a pretty high volume event. It's the highest volume event that we have as far as bike races is concerned. And I think you were talking at one point of having it on a Sunday, and in the past, this has been considered like around Mother's Day. And I think have you decided on a specific date yet?
Not a specific date, but it will be on a Saturday rather than a Sunday. We'll figure out the date hopefully within the next month or so. The Eastern Collegiate Cycling Conference meeting will be held in November, and that's the point where the conference finalizes its schedule for the spring season.
I would also recommend that I don't think for this volume of traffic at any one point going around a corner that one marshal is necessarily sufficient, especially at some of the junctions that we were talking about before, Philo and the Heinsberg Road there. 4-way stop signs with 20 or 30 Peloton going through it on a Saturday at 10:30 in the morning. It's as Carrie has mentioned, it can be problematic or potentially problematic without a strong degree of forethought given to it.
Okay.
That says police officer 3-4 corners. Is that an officer hopefully with a vehicle and flashing lights?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the 4th corner is the curve at the bridge of Spear Street.
So what's a marshal? Are we talking like a regular sheriff marshal? What's a marshal?
Blue is the police, and then
What's a marshal? What's a court
Volunteer.
marshal?
So that'll be racers, volunteers, U.S. cycling officials who will be there at the course as well. So that'll be people who will drive out. They'll have bright colored vests to be able to stand at the corners and direct the racers on the course.
Zach, have you communicated this to the Shelburne Police yet?
Not yet.
And so they have not been communicated with them?
Or the state police would be, our contracts with the state police.
So this is just within Charlotte, right?
Right, just within Charlotte.
And we use the state police?
Yeah, state police.
Whoever you get,
you can hire
the car and the
They could
lights.
go with whoever. they
Okay.
want.
Sheridan County Sheriff's Department also does traffic control.
Yeah.
Like on the highways and
Okay, yeah.
construction projects, you'll see the sheriffs there.
What if we have a recreation event? Do we have spring soccer, jamboree? Will we or anything like that?
Jamboree.
Okay.
But I would ask that maybe it seems that we're still at the planning stage.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable
We're
with
happy
this.
Recreation is happy to continue liaise and then maybe meet with you one more time if you felt like that was appropriate.
Yeah,
I think you have it's a great race to have in Charlotte, but I do think that we need to monitor the logistics of it fairly closely.
right. And I'd be happy to do that because I certainly want it to run as smoothly as it could as well.
As I said, I'm impressed with the organization and presentation. We appreciate that, especially with using the public roads. It's a great proposal. I think just kind of hammering out the date.
At least hold off until you have gotten the state permission for a Peloton
Yeah.
and
finalize the
a
date.
hard date so the fire department can sign off too.
Okay.
You want to approve it pending these things, or you want to hold off? Because you're having a meeting when, to finalize for your cyclists?
Hopefully in November, we'll have the final date for the race.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you-
we could,
You want to approve it pending Rob at the fire station approve it, working with Bill, make sure the date's not in conflict.
the state permit too.
Oh, you need a state permit, okay. So pending those three, anybody want to make a motion then?
So it'd be,
Can I make?
Sure.
sure.
I wanted to I've participated in the Kelly Brush Century Ride a number of times, and I found that they have police at a number of the high-traffic areas, especially on Route 7, and they're very effective in terms of directing traffic, so I think that would work really well on those three corners to alleviate any issues with traffic.
But isn't it by the time they do those three corners for the Kelly Brush, there's not as many of them? That's the last leg of the race, if I'm not mistaken, so anybody coming north
Kelly
on
Brush,
Spear?
They have those, the police are there for the duration, I believe, until.
I'm saying up Spear Street, going north on Spear, and one of the pit stops is at the store, and that's the end of the race. That's like the
Is there gonna be any
last
volunteers
100.
for the other roads that intersect? I mean, is there gonna be anybody at 1 Mile Road? Is there gonna be anybody at Prindle Road, Bingham Brook Road?
As of now, we hadn't been planning on
interesting.
it, but if it seems like it might be a concern, we could certainly look into that.
I would think Bingham Brook would be coming up over that, going over that hill.
That would be a good one to have.
That's really,
It's kind of a blind hill, Spear Street.
I mean, they're going
Just
south on Spear Street, so when they're coming over the hill.
So they'll slow down by the time they get to the top.
Probably.
wait, where?
It's not.
Going
not
up
like
the
a car.
hill before being, you're pedaling, you're not hitting the gas pedal.
Oh,
I've been up that hill before. I slowed down a lot.
So, it's a long one, but I'll make a motion to approve the UVM cycling road race, dependent on a date that is not in conflict with recreation scheduling, securing a state Peloton permit, making the standby ambulance arrangements, and a police contract secured. For,
Sign off by fire.
I thought that was the ambulance, but, and a sign off
Okay,
by,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
the state permit I got, state Peloton permit. Sometime in March or April 2019 on a Saturday.
Any other comments, questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
sorry.
Thank you, Zachary, for coming in.
Thanks.
Good luck with your race.
Yeah, good luck with the
Be
organizing.
safe on the roads. Pre-application trails grant. Hi, Lori. So we talked about this last meeting, right?
We did.
And then I guess, we left it with you to prepare the application, and that's what you're coming forth with today? Okay.
So coming just to see if you have any comments on the application and if we're still good to go ahead. The application, the pre-application does not commit us to the application. It just lets them know that we are thinking about applying. The pre-application is due on November 15th. And the regular application is due January 1st.
And so this is the actual format.
This is the actual format. And
So you'd go in
right.
with the preliminary.
Right, and so this is the preliminary, the pre-application form for the grant. They give you the whole outline and you just put in information specific to what you're doing in your town or with your organization. So this is very specific to State Park Road and what we have available to us so far on State Park Road. The one thing I would say is the maps here are a little preliminary because we are still working with a steering committee and Jim Donovan to get to the final map. So map A and map C are not finalized, I guess I would say. That there's going to be a public forum tomorrow night to get input, and the steering committee is still working with Jim Donovan on that. So those could definitely change.
What about the parking?
The parking at the end of State Park across from Mount Philo. We, in this, we have requested a 4 space parking area there. Basically crushed stone. It's similar to what the trail would look like. So nothing real elaborate, just a place where people could just pull in 4 spots and use the trail.
Why is that, Lori, when Mount Philo is across the road? Why have the parking spot there when Mount Philo is right next door?
Well, there are times when Mount Philo is totally full. And you have to pay to go in and park at Mount Philo.
What's going to keep Mount Philo walkers from going in this parking spot?
Right, that's something that we are discussing. We certainly would put signs up that say parking for Town Link Trail only. We need to work with the park people, but we could ask the person sitting at the booth there that if they see that someone parks there and walks across, to say, I'm sorry, you can't park there, if they would be willing to do that. Yes.
I know this from experience.
Are we limited to the 4 spaces in your easement in that area?
Well, that's the other thing. We are still working on that easement, so there's no final.
So it's going to go into a property owner's space?
Yes.
The new people that just
Right.
bought that property?
Well, yes, if they give the 20-foot easement, then it would just stay on the 12 to 14 feet that we already have on the side of the road, and then 20 feet. You know, I don't know how long is a car? I don't know. But
12 feet.
12 feet. So if you put 4 cars there, you're actually almost just in the right of way, not even in an easement. We also want to look at, and I think that Dave Garbos is pretty happy with giving us some parking spots there. We want to talk to Duker at the Inn at Charlotte, see if we can get some there. And then also maybe get a couple on Sam Coppola's vineyard there. See if he might allow us a couple of spots.
Say this at a few different meetings, so have you talked to any one of those 3 are you any closer to giving you an answer, just so we can?
I mean, Dave, I think Dave is.
Yes, probably.
Yes, Dave is the one that we have talked to, so.
Okay, and then the other 2, like the vineyard?
The vineyard,
I heard you mention that,
Yeah.
last year. I just wondered if you've talked to them yet, so
We
that we
haven't,
can plan,
because
because if they're
yeah.
going to, if he's going to say yes, then maybe, that's going to make a difference of a parking area if we, I don't know, it's just one of my thoughts.
It's hard to imagine starting a trail, having the beginning of a trail and not having any parking available for people at the beginning of a trail.
That's a good way to pay for Mount
That's-
Philo. They parked in Mount Philo. You know, they want to, thought that's what we were trying to do, is combine with Mount Philo and the trails.
Sure, there'll be lots of people parking at one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think they will.
Right, so why
Yes.
would we necessarily have to
Well,
go to
in
the
the
expense
summer.
of that?
Yeah.
And the
in
hassle,
this-
I think I feel like, so we don't have to talk anymore about it. My thought is, have you asked the other two places, and we'll go from
Look
there.
at that.
It seems worth asking those property owners if that easement could contain some parking, just so that we do have that option. That's. if
And
they're
so then
okay
it's
with
gonna
that.
be a parking spot right near the horse farm, right? It's gonna be a horse farm. I know visually, I know it very well.
Right.
We're gonna build brand new houses, and they're gonna have, the new people building on that land, and then maybe a parking spot for cars right there is what we're thinking. Okay.
I think the houses are at on the west side of that property, not necessarily on the east side.
Okay,
Yes.
very good.
There's no special right-of-way needed for this, right? Because, my concern about the parking right at the corner is the whole reason the town lobbied the state to create a parking lot is back when I was a kid, people would just park along the road there, and then people pulling out of State Park Road couldn't see fast-moving traffic, and so that's kind of recreating that issue.
Well, one of the things that it does talk about in here is that, and I think it's the town's responsibility to look at traffic calming and traffic issues there. And it seems like if we're putting in an application for this, that we would want a crosswalk that would go from Mount Philo across the street, and then maybe some kind of traffic calming. I think that's up for discussion of what we might be. You can have the blinking signs, you can have, there's so many different things you can do for traffic calming, but I think that would be a discussion that town
I'm
would
just
need to
thinking the
have.
parking area needs to be, we can talk away from the road. We can talk with Junior too. Even for putting in curb cuts, you need a line of sight approval to make any curb cut. This technically would be a curb cut.
There's probably state specs that you would just pull out a page and says the parking has to start blank distance from the edge of the road.
So that people can have a line of
See.
sight.
Right, but people are gonna park
Exactly.
anywhere so what I would wanna see is something that would make them pull in. So maybe there might be a guardrail or a fence, heavy-duty fence of some sort, so that when they pulled in, they pulled into a driveway to the parking areas that kept everything 8 or 10 feet off the Mount Philo Road, so that you would still have the site view.
You'd have to go in alongside the guardrail and then pull in. That's what you're saying, yes.
Right. You have to go in behind it, so that way.
Instead of it like being a wide open
Yeah,
parking
instead of
spot.
just being basically starting with the shoulder that's there and just adding gravel and making it an open parking space.
Yeah.
People are gonna park wherever they wanna park, where if there's some kind of barrier there of some sorts that requires them to pull in off the shoulder 5, 8 feet, whatever it is, that would be something that I would kind of look forward to seeing if you're gonna try to put parking on that, right on the corner.
And if I was the homeowner, I'd want a cedar hedge so I didn't have to see the parking spots.
I think that's a great idea. Great
I think I
idea.
would have to.
Yeah,
The only other
absolutely.
logistical question I was seeing in this is the owners immediately to the west of the Kuchar property. Is it
The west of the what?
Tabies?
Oh,
Hashim
yes.
and Diane?
Yeah,
We have an existing 5-foot wide trail easement, but then it's saying that it's gonna be an 8-foot wide crushed stone trail. Is it gonna be neck down in that?
well, there's a 12 to 14 foot right-of-way, and then a
And then
5
5
foot.
foot
So you
outside of the
have
right-of-way.
19 feet there from the side of the road.
It's additional to the right of way?
I think so.
Because technically,
Yes.
everyone owns to the middle of the road.
Right, but they have, yes, they
This
have
is
5
outside of
feet
that.
in addition to
The
whatever it is, the
town
12th to
3-rod.
14th right away,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, cool.
So we could still have like that 4-foot division between the road and
Kind of green
the
space.
trail, and then still not be real close to their fence that they put in, yes. Yeah. And they are on the steering committee. They are working with us, which is great. So
That is good.
they know exactly what's going on, yeah.
Motion to approve the pre-application?
I make a motion to approve the 2019 Recreational Trails Program pre-application form as presented.
I'll second that.
Any other comments from anyone?
Good.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
All right.
Good job, having it all filled out. Thank you. Gosh, lots of trails tonight. Trails Committee.
Do you have more maps made up?
That's a very good question.
I just delivered them to Philo Ridge today.
Okay.
They're very popular. I think we're gonna need a higher budget.
Well, I don't know that you'd have to make them so waterproof and all that. Weren't those like waterproof, Dean told me, or? They're very nice, but you could,
The
You
paper,
know.
the waterproof, 200 pieces of waterproof paper cost $43.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a ream of paper, I don't know how much a ream of paper costs, but it's not that much more than,
It's the printing.
it's the
color
printing
printing.
that really costs.
It's not a map that's available online. So
It's on
people
the
could
it's
use
really,
their,
it's not
Yes.
easy to get to.
Yes,
though.
it is available online.
Right? It's not easy to get to that, all those maps, the website.
Is it on the, I don't know if
It's on the map and it's
town-
on, we have
Yeah.
a postcard,
Yeah.
it's Charlotte, Vermont Trail, charlottevttrails.org.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of steps.
Yes, that's what we need to do, is put it on the town website.
We talked about that
When you go
last
to
year
maps,
too.
Can you get, there is, I think there is a link.
Yeah, well, we just finished it in August.
Okay, yeah.
So it was just completed. so.
Charlotte County Trail, find something.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, is that a yes?
Yeah, if you search Town Lake Trail, that's one.
It's on All Trails as well, which is a national website. You'll find, and Locomotion, which I think connects to All Trails as well.
I
Yeah.
had some of the maps at the store that people really, the locals really appreciated having them there.
I have to keep folding them. That's the holdup, I will tell you. So I have to keep folding it. I will, and I need to get them to you and the old brick and
Bring them to the committee. We'll
ends.
do it
I know, we'll do it
I
tomorrow.
mean, that's where you're gonna get your local traffic.
Talk to the Boy Scouts still. Some kid will need a merit badge and he'll do all that folding
They
for
can do
you.
the folding.
Origami.
They're big into trails and community service.
There you go. You want to do
We
that?
have this handout.
So the budget looks mostly the same, but there is an asterisk that is not on here.
Right.
Um,
But you want to go through,
Yeah.
if you want to go through that first.
So, there's a little blurb about what we've done this year. It's been a good year. Probably, the underpass celebration was a big deal, and finishing the maps was something that's been on our list for a long time. So we're very happy to be moving forward on that. We've got 2 new Trails members that have already been helpful. So anyway, our budget looks mostly the same: signage, maps, bench, marketing. And that's basically stable, plus the $5,000 for matching funds. We do want to talk to you. We would like to request as a line budget item, $30,000 so that we can finish State Park Road. And we have a meeting tomorrow. We've been in discussion about, is this the best way to do this?
Or is it better to have an article versus putting it, asking for it in the reserve fund?
I think it should be in the reserve fund. But I think we as a board want to see how the budget rolls up. I mean, do we include it in the budget? Or if our budget is coming in higher than we would want it to come in, maybe we have it as a standalone article. It's kind of what we did last year, I think, with the generators and something else. So, I mean, we should consider that, I would think. Huh?
Recreation for the playground.
Well, that's another one too.
Last year.
That we did last year, we'll probably continue that to raise money, so.
I mean, is this needed in lieu of the grant?
Well, yes, so the grant is up to $50,000. And maybe we'll get all 50,000, maybe we'll only get 30,000, maybe we'll only get 20,000. You don't know. When we did the scoping study, we asked for, I think it was 77,000, and we got 50,000.
The other thing is, I feel like the budget on State Park is pretty loosey-goosey. We had these pretty large figures when we were doing the V-Trans grant, and now we're scaling it way back. But we're not sure. And it would be very good to have that on hand in case it runs a little bit higher.
At least in half, if we got $1 amount, the other, it's gonna.
I mean, not for sure, because co-housing was done very inexpensively, and I know this is a different situation, but I think it would just be safer so that we can actually finish this and move on.
When do you hear about the results of the grant? What month? It goes in
They said
January?
the end of March.
Oh, so that's after town meeting.
So it's after town meeting, so that's the other issue.
So if I'm not mistaken, in the Recreation Reserve Fund, 60,000 or something, is that right? And then a rough estimate of a gravel grade, not V-Trans standard, was something under 100.
Right.
So with what's in the reserve fund, potentially what you're talking about here, 30,000, and a grant, you'd be certainly in very good shape.
Yes, yes. And that would give us, because we weren't talking about the traffic calming before, we were just talking about the trail. And if we want to put cedar trees around, if we end up putting parking spots in and that kind of thing, I think that is all going to add up. So yes, it probably is going to come in over that 100,000 with those other things in there.
Supposed to be somewhat finished towards the end of the year, does I remember that?
Yes, I think Jim is hoping that it will be pretty well done by the end of December.
So then you would have, before town meeting, you would have a couple of months to get some estimates to see where on the planet we are with respect to cost.
Yes.
Plus, the wetland is a big issue that could be costly or not so costly.
And that permitting process is.
The permit should be put in. Jim is doing that, and I think he put November as his deadline to get the wetlands permit.
To receive it.
No,
to get it in.
Put in the application for it, and he's working with people from, I think, A&R and another organization that will help him do that.
And that takes a couple months for them to decide, or? I have no experience with wetland permits.
I can't remember how long it took.
It takes months.
A couple months.
Yeah.
So.
No matter what, the design to apply for the grant has to be completed before January 1st application.
Right. So that's what Jim is working toward,
Right.
knowing that we want to go for this grant.
Oh, so the design, I forgot that. Design goes in with the grant.
Right.
So they know we are
Right.
serious and have a plan.
Right, yeah, so that's important. So if we asked for the 5,000 currently for our reserve fund and the other 30, so it would just say 35,000 for the reserve fund. And then as you build the budget, you can see if that would be that way or if you would consider it in an article. Is that how that would go?
I appreciate you telling us now, but I don't think we're just here in the first go-around. We have to roll things up and see how it looks.
Do you want us to come back, or how do you?
Well, we really roll everything up around first to the end of December, and it actually goes to print January 15th or something like that. So we have to have our articles done and everything so that people can have absentee ballots for those items that are warned for.
We have to come back anyway in the beginning of December, I don't know when that meeting is, but to give you the actual grant application.
Right.
So you can look through it and give any comments and then
Final design.
approve it. So then I think you have to sign off on it at the end. So we want to give you at least a month ahead to see it and all that. So maybe that would be a good time.
I think so.
to
See
how
where
that
things
is.
stand and refresh us as we relook at it again and, with other requests that will come into the town.
Yeah, have a better idea.
And for the design process, that's being done through the steering committee meetings?
It's, Jim Donovan is doing that, and there are at least four steering committee meetings, there are 4 public meetings. The first one tomorrow night.
Tomorrow, yeah.
7 o'clock here, if anybody wants to come, and,
The next one as part of a select board meeting, November 13th at 6 o'clock.
Will there be
yes, that's right.
Will there be a site visit as it gets finalized, like with the scoping study designs?
That's a good idea.
I mean, I think that
Get
was
off the cold, but-
yeah. It seemed like if a picture's worth 1,000 words, being on site and seeing what it might look like, I think
Good
was
idea. We
valuable.
could talk to Jim about that tomorrow night and have him put that into the schedule. That's a great idea. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Kathy, I didn't vote for the bicycle race, just so you know. I know you weren't looking. And that's fine.
You abstained.
I just, no, I don't know, I don't.
No.
No,
You voted no?
I voted no on that one.
Okay.
I'm voting for all the Charlotters who,
All right.
Did you vote no,
Started the
or you
race.
didn't vote?
I just
Didn't vote.
didn't vote.
Okay, you gotta let me know.
Okay, no, yes, I am now. I'm telling you now.
The Board of Listers. Here's the board.
Board of 1, yes. So I guess here's our budget. Do you guys have any questions? It hasn't really changed much.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's the right direction.
I guess so. So, yeah, everything looks, like I said, pretty similar. Other than a couple of things is under the computer software and the Microsoft service contract. Those two, from my understanding, talking with Mary, is that they forgot to bill us the year prior, so it's two bills in one that we paid. But going forward, we're correct with our budget. So that's why that doubled up there. But it's not going to be double normally. That was just the way that happened, unfortunately.
That's the 657.
That's correct, yes. And then the mapping, last year the state, Turner Mapping and the state worked together, so it was less for us because the state took on some of the expenses. And now it's back to normal again with the 2,700. So those are really kind of the big changes. And then the contract appraiser, we did Thompson's Point last time, so that was the extra 5,000. So now it's back to 26,250. They did raise that 5% after several years of being at 25,000. So, so that's pretty much everything I have to share.
So you're doing 22 hours a week and the other 2 are doing a 3 and a 1.
Well, and they really probably aren't doing that much really, but we put that in there just to kind of keep it flexible, so.
So you have 3 elected listers, right?
We do,
Right.
yes.
So, oh, okay, I see.
Need anything from us?
No, not really,
So
but thank you for asking.
you've projected wages, but you don't know the cost of living yet. That'll kind of come probably later. So
Yeah, I mean, you mean far as what?
I was looking at wages. In January, we get.
Right, I think we've figured that in. Dean, I think, figured that in.
I gave her, everyone stepped up.
The bump up.
Gave a new step except for
A step.
Mo, who's at
Yeah,
max.
so this
For the
is
cost
going
of-
forward,
Yeah.
what that would actually be if those hours were precise.
Okay, good.
And as the supplies dropped quite a bit, does that mean there's not going to be candy
Yeah,
available?
because I steal everybody else's supplies accidentally. That's probably part of it. But the other one was we had to do a lot of printing. Certain years, we're doing postcards or a townwide reappraisal where we have to send out the newspaper, you know, with all the listed values. So I don't foresee any big jumps in stationery, that type of stuff. Supplies.
this year, right?
No.
That comes out of
No. Well, it's
finance.
whenever there's a townwide reappraisal, and I don't see anything happening in the next couple of years, so, but we'll see.
Good. Any questions, anybody else? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Energy. Okay. So Susie and, remind me? John? And Deirdre, okay. There you go, okay, got it. And Energy Committee, so tell us your plan?
Our plan is same 4 areas that we worked on last year. The main component is the first one where we've been focused since the start of our committee is on making our town-owned buildings more energy efficient. So the library project, at least at conceptual stage, started last year, and this is where we're supporting them in their efforts to expand the library and make sure that it's energy efficient and is not increasing the actually total energy demand of that building. That's the first item on that. The second item is slightly expanded because this is supporting the town plan and the energy portion of that, which wasn't, almost non-existent last time the town plan was updated. So that is essentially outreach with the planning commission to make sure that the town plan is compliant with the new Act 174, which is involved a significant amount of effort. My colleagues may want to say something about that?
Agreed.
No? It's a good read.
And how do you spend $1,500 on that? You know,
I think it's a bit uncertain at present because, you know, we've been working with the Planning Commission on Act 174 related activities. It's new legislation, and so specific responsibilities and specific expenditures under that legislation are somewhat unknown at this stage. So what we've got here is support for implementation of energy-related initiatives, Act 174, for example. So, you know, we're trying to identify Act 174 as a priority, but also just be upfront in that we don't really know what the specifics are at this stage.
we might have to pay something for it, what you're saying.
Beg your pardon?
What would we spend money on for Act 174?
Well, some of it could be outreach to the community, building awareness amongst this community about what our
So
responsibilities are under
advertising
Act 174. We just don't know at this
So
stage.
producing maps, for example, because right now there's no awareness of it, but it's a significant, in a way, time burden on the town. To be compliant, to have our town plan mean anything, it needs to be rubber stamped with Act 174. Otherwise, why have a town plan in terms of energy siting? So we want to make sure that there's, understanding about that.
You got a comment here?
Yeah, I would like to comment. The Energy Committee has done a tremendous amount of work on helping get the town plan, or hopefully it will be compliant for Act 174. So as everybody knows, we were successful in getting the town plan passed this past March with the full intention of continuing the effort to get the plan compliant with Act 174. So the Energy Committee has been doing a lot of work on that. We've also had a lot of help from regional planning. And we just, a week ago, voted unanimously to forward the plan for a first hearing. So to say that I think that there will be a lot of outreach, just so that folks in town understand in more detail in terms of what Act 174 is about and why we need to update the town plan.
And another element of that will be data. It may be in the form of maps, or it may be arrive in a different form, but we're hoping to improve our energy picture in order to be compliant, but there's even questions of exactly how many heat pumps, for example, have been installed in Charlotte buildings already. So we'll have to collect that in order to have our baseline and then track it going forward in order to monitor our progress.
Well, does that mean that, to go with Carrie's question, I mean, you're talking about the outreach and education part, which you have $800 on that, but what is this? It says support for implementation of energy-related initiatives. You have $1,500 here. What is the $1,500 spent on if it's not for the community energy outreach and education?
Producing materials. As we said, John said, we don't know exactly, but we thought it was important to budget on something because implementation doesn't happen on its own without some sort of support. So we didn't want to not have it in there and find ourselves, up the creek, 9 months from now. So it's true, we haven't itemized exactly what that will be.
So is that something that, in this particular case, it would come back to the board when they have a project with an exact dollar amount, instead of building it in just in case?
Just the other
we'd
side
have
of
some money to.
that coin is the Energy Committee, more than any other committee I've seen, does a lot of planning, because this is kind of a field that is pushing the boundaries, period. So I've seen in the 5 years that I've been on here that there have been multiple years that they've budgeted for things that they haven't spent the money on. And unlike other committees where we've kind of talked with them about getting sharper pencils, they say, oh, I have $600, let's spend it before the year's over. The Energy Committee really doesn't. If they don't get to a project that they budgeted for, we've had requests for that same appropriation the next year because they didn't do it the previous year, and that money was returned to the taxpayers.
To give you an example, when we hire someone to do energy modeling, that typically costs more than $1,000. And I know the protocol is to go out for tender. So we write up an RFP, and often that whole process of designing a project, going out with the RFP, looking through, we've come up with a way to review proposals. And you may remember that year where we hadn't spent our money, but we actually went over into the next fiscal year and combined the two.
Yep.
So it's kind of difficult, especially in terms of future planning, to work on this calendar basis.
Was that the
So that's
senior
true. We
center?
have underspent in previous years, and we've also combined 2 years in order to afford to get improvements done. And we've done that with, as you know, the senior center.
yeah.
We did it with the library roof. We've done a lot of, projects that have had physical costs, but it's the planning and professional fees that do add up in those early stages. And we all know we need to spend the money up front in order to get the energy savings further down the road.
So I see this budget is $1,000 less than was budgeted last year, if I have this right. So I'm looking at last year's budget, it's $5,500, and now you're proposing $4,500.
That's,
So-
I thought it was
It was actually 4,000.
yeah, I'm not sure what.
What's a $500 increase?
I read that somewhere.
I'm reading in our town report.
This, I think, is a 500. Flat would be 4,000, is my understanding.
So,
May.
Dean, I'm on page 17 of 178.
Yeah.
Says energy.
Energy Committee should be 4,000 under budget 1819.
I think we have in the past had a $5,000 budget, but last year our understanding was that it was 4,000. This is a slight increase. So if you were to average over a number of years, this is our average budget. for this
Well,
last year's budget.
so if I'm looking, am I in the right line? Toward the top? Unless it's only senior.
No, yeah, that's the senior center.
So where do I see it?
Down the next, under miscellaneous, the next to the bottom, just above tree warden.
Okay, got it, yep. Okay, there you go. So this is, they're $500 above, right? Okay.
First line, what you guys have imagined for town building in terms of services?
Continuing with the library, that's been probably our main focus. We started on that project last year, and we know when they bring in the architect and they go through the fees to deal with energy efficiency, consulting and design services, because what they're trying to do is build its expansion and not increase the energy load. So it will be actually helping them with some of those initial costs, professional services.
Can you dovetail that with the architect?
Yes, yeah. So we've been working with with Margaret on that. So we have two people that are Deirdre and David Pill acting as a liaison on that. I mean, what we don't want to do is have them go for it and then do it later. We're trying to work with them simultaneously on that design stage.
So it's mostly library.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we did talk to the fire station last year, and they thought they might have it in their budget already. So, if the budget is not a problem, but we want to use our budget to help facilitate other buildings who have their own committees to get the work done. It depends on what position they're in.
So if somebody like the fire department wanted to, I mean, we're currently getting prices for replacing the air conditioner with heat pumps and stuff like that. Nobody has knowledge of any kind of grants or anything that's available. That's something we could get from you guys?
Well, Efficiency Vermont has that. I mean, I know on the residential level, so yes, I would know who to put them in touch with.
They're not residential, that's
They're
a
not
commercial.
residential, so that's why.
Commercial offers.
And that's through Energy Vermont?
Efficiency Vermont should do it. I'm just aware of the residential offers, but we would know who to put them in touch with. So we can, act as a.
Which is a commercial.
Mhm.
And there's fairly substantial opportunities there.
I just walked the building with a guy today. I need that information.
You did or didn't?
Pardon?
You did or did not?
We did. We're
You
getting
did.
proposals
Yeah, because
for-
on the residential level, the rebates go back to the contractor, so the contractors are usually up to speed on the
Yeah.
rebates, at least for residential. I don't know what it would be for the fire station.
Is that
But-
something that could connect the Energy Committee and the fire department at a meeting? Or?
Sure, definitely. Yeah, we'd be very, very happy to do that.
I'm the building committee across the street.
Okay.
Meetings had. Please tell me. I need the help.
I mean, and we,
Okay.
Any other questions on the budget? Comments? Thank you for coming in. So we roll all this up and we kind of go through it again at a later date, probably early December.
we could have more information. We're happy to come back. If it's next week, we won't have a lot of more
Right,
information.
it'll be, as we talk to everybody
Yeah,
once.
okay, great. Thank you.
See what the
Okay,
priorities
Thanks for
are.
inviting us.
Thanks. Planning and zoning? Yes, coming up here.
Half of the hat.
So this
So
spreadsheet.
let's see, Dean and myself and Daryl and Aaron met about a month ago to go over the budget. And there's very little change. There's a few, I would say the most significant change is we'd like to budget 9,000 instead of 8,000 for legal. And the reason is that there's some significant projects or situations that could require some legal opinion. One is Philo Ridge. We also have Clark Hinsdale is just starting what could be a pretty significant subdivision over on Heinsberg Road that could be a mix. that it might include affordable housing. And it's really part of a master plan of that whole area, and it ties into the East Charlotte study that was done about 10 years ago, which included actually expanding the East Charlotte town boundaries to the edge of the Burns property, I think it is. So all of those are kind of coming together possibly. Well, the Philo Ridge, we don't know. It's, as everybody knows in town, it's a significant new development in terms of a kind of farm use. And I think we're learning that there's some things that in the law that are not really cut and dry. So we're just thinking that there's the potential, there could be something there may not be. But we just wanted to keep, pardon?
Are we looking for stuff?
No, not that I'm aware of, no.
Budgeting. Yeah. But I just thought the latest, wasn't aware of the gray area. I thought the latest stuff that came back was that it was mostly in the state's jurisdiction.
Yeah, it is. So it may be nothing. It may be nothing.
So it's still 9,000, still less than you spent. Yeah.
Yeah. The other changes are we dropped the seminars down a couple $100. Increased membership manuals, that increased to 50. I've kind of forgotten, there was something specific there, I think for Daryl or Aaron. And we dropped the planning consultant by 500. And as far as the revenues go, we pretty much left it at is just because it's extremely difficult to know, in terms of building permits, subdivisions. It could be up, it could be down. It's hard to predict. That also applies to septic as well.
What would we use a planning consultant for?
It could be something specific to an update to the town plan, or it could be land use regulations. So as I mentioned earlier, we're hopefully going to get the revised town plan to a town vote in March. But we also, in addition to that, have started to look at the land use regs in terms of I forget how many items on our list to look in terms of updates to the land use regs. Could require some legal opinion on that. Might not.
Did I miss the zoning administrator?
Or consultants, pardon?
Did I miss the zoning administrator budget, the proposed budgets?
For year, for wages or?
Yeah, the wages is.
The wages is, I would.
On the back, page 2.
Yeah, no, I missed the explanation.
It went from 35 to 40 hours.
And so we're just going to be over budget for 19?
Whenever the portion of the year we're in now, would be all of 19, I guess that's right. We'll be over. Can't remember what month we approved it, but it was certainly before July 1st.
So the proposed is.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to be the actual. That's pretty much it.
So the biggest change is the hours that we added and the legal, like you say. Anybody have any questions? Thank you. Good. What's the date? 10/8.
Okay.
3 minutes.
Are we catching up?
If we finish the library in 3 minutes, we'll be
Library,
caught
I heard the library's here.
Yeah, except my director isn't here, which I'm a little concerned about because she's very punctual. So I guess I'm doing this.
Tell us all what's happening here.
Not much. Last year we had like a 4.3% increase, and this year it's down to 2.3%.
I believe, I don't think there's anything radically different at all. And Dean, did that include the updated cost of living?
Staff, and it doesn't include cost of living, but it does
Okay,
include
so-
everybody moving up to staff.
Okay.
Yep.
It includes that, but not that, because we don't know what it is.
We'll probably lower the cost of
So, I think I can answer questions if you
I
have.
have a question.
Yeah? Uh-oh. I might not be able to.
Well, it's about, because I think Fritz is your representative, and I'm just curious, since there hasn't been too much discussion on the library addition, I'm kind of assuming that you're not going to be ready for this town meeting.
Well, that's a really good question. We are hoping we will be ready, but we're not sure.
So you'd have to tell us
Pretty darn soon.
within the next 45,
Yeah.
60 days.
No, we know that.
Okay.
But we're in the part where we sort of see what is, and then we go live. And there's a bond committee that's met with I think about 3 or 4 times. So, I mean, we're getting ready, we'll hit the ground running, I hope.
So what you would do is, the number, if I remember right, is about $1.5 million, and you're trying to raise
700
and the balance
is bonded.
would be a bond that we
Yeah,
would,
of 700,
oh, so it's $1.4 million
yeah,
that you would suggest we would have as an article
correct.
for the March town meeting. Okay.
That is true, all true.
Just been a little quiet lately. Board members have asked.
Yeah,
You know,
no,
what's
I
going
understand.
on,
It's just,
Margaret didn't like to be in the middle because it's more of a board
yeah,
issue.
no, it's in progress, definitely. But
Okay.
there's a lot of legwork going on.
Okay. So the actual budget here, other than everything in here but cost of living, pretty much
Nothing shocking.
nothing shocking. Anybody, what made special programs go up 47%?
1,700 to 2,500.
It's not a lot of money, but
More special programs.
probably more children activities?
Yeah, there's a lot, I mean, there's a lot of demand for activities and a lot of children's activities. It looks like 47% looks huge, but then it's really not that much.
You want more programs?
Yeah.
I just think in the few meetings that I've been to that the special programs seem to be increasing in number as
People keep coming and going, can you do this program and this program and this program? So, and Margaret never doesn't like to say no. And trust me, all the librarians put in way more hours than they're actually paid for.
it's hard to say no. I know when somebody has a couple of young girls that come in here and ask for some budget, the select board is like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Okay, do it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, this is fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
We'll see how the other part goes, which would have
We will definitely get back
An
on
impact.
that. Yes, thank you so much.
any questions, everybody? Thanks.
Just back to planning and zoning just for one brief moment. I think the first year I was here, I did some paperwork comparing what we charge for permits compared to other towns.
Yeah.
And we're like way down low. And sometime, I mean, then there was no motivation on the board to change that, but that was, what, 4 years ago? I may resurrect some of that information and
Well, the other thing that we might want to resurrect is possibly the delineation. We talked about maybe giving that back to the state.
The wastewater.
Oh, the wastewater?
So that we didn't have to have hire an engineer to make sure everything is all set. It would be state checked.
That was 12,000, I think.
Yeah. No, we still have delineation, which means we still hire an engineer to check out these things along with the developments, the big developments, and that's one of the big cost for the planning commission budget is for the engineer that we hire.
Revenue, yeah. So that gets offset, right? The 12,000 there.
So we pay about half.
Yeah, they're only paying a portion of it. So that we end up paying part of it, so some of it, so if we didn't do that, then the state would be checking the septics and the installations and everything and not us. And we wouldn't have that expense.
So it's a revenue.
It's a revenue and an expense, but
It's a
there's
revenue
about
and an expense.
$5,000 in the hole here.
Expense actual for 2018 is 13,000.
Oh, engineering, yeah.
It's both.
And that's just the
'Cause they do pay.
engineering, but there's also time administratively to coordinate the engineering that's just
Especially
wrapped into the salary.
Right.
And currently, Charlotte and Colchester are the only two towns that still do this.
So they go, be thinking about that, because we bring this up almost every year.
Yeah.
See how it, see what you guys think as we get further down the road.
It's a super opportunity to think about the cost implications, like it just hasn't been on the top of our list, because there's other stuff, but you're reminding me and us that it's been on the table for quite a while.
Right. It's been an ongoing expense.
Yeah.
Ever since we got delineation, so it's just something I've heard over time.
I think 4 years ago, we could look back, it was close to a break even, but then the contract changed and the price increased significantly.
Right,
And
and
so-
it might have been the pricing of the engineer itself
Yeah,
that
price
caused the
changed.
issue.
Yeah.
So do we increase application or get out of business?
That's, I guess, the question.
That's the choice. The choice is to make it so that the developer gets the whole, has to pay more for the application, or if there's something that can be put into the application that says that they pay for all the engineering for their development. I mean, it's.
I haven't even looked at the structure, if the state allows that.
The state,
Or is it a-
basically, the state and Colchester have their fees, and we're getting a little off topic, but based on flows, and we don't, we have a per permit fee, so we're kind of out of sync with both the revenue, the revenue and expenses are out of sync, and they're out of sync with
Right, 'cause
with.
ours was based on the size of the development.
Right.
Whether it was minor or
Right.
major.
Yep.
So that was the difference in the amount, but whether it's a minor or major, you do have a certain amount of engineering fees anyways. So it just, like Dean said, it's apples and oranges that we're kind of trying to equalize payment, and it doesn't work.
Well, it goes down to the basic argument, does the town contribute to the cost of private development, which we do indirectly, when you look at the fees for stuff and what it actually costs us, not just the sewer, but for plan review and all that other stuff.
Because it's kind of a task that goes between boards, that maybe it's just sitting there waiting to be, somebody needs to be told what to do. Like, the select board could say, please do this, or, you know.
I did a review, I think
Yeah.
I did like 14 towns, and some guy from the county helped me. Went through and see what they charged and tried to,
Yeah.
everybody has a different name for different permits, and tried to normalize what it was, and out of like 12, we were the 10th cheapest. Which just, in our whole permitting process, what we charge for all this stuff, and that just struck me as like,
Let's just do it.
why are we the cheapest? If we want to be, that's fine. At the time, that was the board decision, was like, well, we don't really think we need to raise anything, but.
Winslow thought it was a good idea, and we tried it, and now I should reassess.
Well, the thing is that no matter what, it's gonna be hard to put a number on it when we're basically on a project that is basically on the size. So no matter what, you're gonna have a hard time trying to come up with unless you start doing a number of buildings in a development and charge by the building or, you know, by the house or something, it's gonna be a little
Do you
bit.
just take a more holistic approach and say that we're spending development, so maybe we need to put $10 on zoning permits, building permits, wastewater permits? Just raise them all a little bit across the board to help get the expense and the revenue closer.
That's an easy way to do it.
You to try to detail that, the result of that, even that study I did, I spent hours at it, and everybody's got different names for different stuff, and there's, you know, 1,000 variables in your equation, so you gotta make an awful lot of generalities to even compare it. But bottom line is that it, you know, if I think as we as a board decide that it should be closer between revenue expenses, we can just make an,
Can we look at our actuals from a previous year, the number of
Yeah. We could
applications, see what our expenses are, and
Pick all the
maybe
permits
Daryl or
Yeah.
Aaron can say, hey, if you ever made this $20 more or this 15, then the revenue
Yeah.
would match the expenses.
Aaron has been looking into it.
Huh?
Aaron has been looking into it, but should probably get back to this
yeah.
conservation fund
Okay,
application.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry.
And we're all set tonight.
Okay.
Vermont style.
Well, conservation fund application, who's speaking, you, Marty? or-
Yeah, David's going to introduce.
I'll start.
Yeah.
I'm David Watts. I haven't met all of you, but thank you for having us here tonight. We're here for this application for funding for this West Conservation Easement project that we've been working on for about the last year and a half. And it, because of a few events, came together very nicely over the last month. So, which I'll describe briefly, but we're asking for $79,000 from the Conservation Fund toward the purchase of the easement on the west property. The easement itself was $110,000 that was determined by appraisal. The easement, it covers about 85% of the land, and it will be, as is often typical of our conservation easements, will prohibit any kind of development, preserve the natural areas in the property. Marty will be talking a bunch more about this, but the remarkable thing about this property is it actually has over a mile of frontage on Lewis Creek. It's really an exceptional situation. The other thing that has worked exceptionally well, from my point of view, was how the West family themselves have been devoted to the conservation of this land since they bought it in the late 70s. Built their house relatively near the road, and this whole area really has not had any, nothing that's been built on it. It has been maintained in forest, and has been no change to the waterway. So we're just particularly excited about this possibility. And it is interesting how it came together, because the owners are the 5 surviving children of the West family, and they were kind of exploring, we had been talking about purchasing this easement and exploring other ways that they might market this, really doing their due diligence on whether, if they granted the easement, what the marketability be to the property. And this potential buyer came along this is what they wanted, to be able to have the property and live there and have almost all of the property remain in preservation of its conservation purposes.
Yeah.
So, I don't
So
know,
this,
Marty,
this
if you-
picture right here, I think some of you are looking at it. We decided to put this together because of Act 171 at the state
habitat blocks, linkage, this whole thing that we just did our town plan update and included that kind of language in the town plan. So Charlotte's doing a really good job, at least in this section of town. And it shows, most especially over here on this ridge line, this is a huge chunk of forest here going from Nature Conservancy, Burley, from A. Johnson down to Hop, Vermont Land Trust. That's all forest and habitat conservation dollars that actually the Town of Charlotte Conservation Fund really helped to make happen. So we're adding to that linkage, which brings it, this actually goes south into Monkton, but if you can do the cross over here to Titus, Guinea Road, and on up towards covering Mount Philo as well, it really provides some really nice linkage. And when we did the meeting with the three subcommittees of town, the conservation folks came in and said they were actually out tracking and they were noticing the activity, the movement that really correlates to what the hunters are saying. So there's really active wildlife there. So it's just a really nice picture of showing what we've invested already publicly with the fund, and that this is adding to that is sort of what this picture is for.
Dark green indicate that what has already been conserved?
Conserved,
Is that
yeah.
what you're?
Correct, yeah.
So then your linkage is parcel.
Is in
talking
between
about.
here, yeah. Yep.
Not quite a hookup, but pretty close, right?
Oh, yeah,
Am
I
looking
mean,
at it right?
it's,
It's a small dotted green line?
yes.
Okay.
Yep, and so you can see Monkton Road, that's kind of going through.
Yep.
And right, that green space next to Monkton Road is a big fat wetland. So while it's not conserved, it's actually a natural. It's a little hard to interpret this because you can't really see the sort of natural areas that are pretty much already protected through regulatory. And this green spot right here, it's kind of interesting. It's not an easement, it's an open space agreement through the Planning Commission, the Howenstein. So that's a riparian just on the other side of the river, which is really nice for the Planning Commission's open space agreement work. So that's showing landscape connectivity and conserved lands up there up at the top. And then this picture right here, I don't know if you had a chance to peek at it yet. But this was Jesse Moore, who we used to do the...
Those maps, I'm sorry. I get that one or the one you're talking about.
Oh,
I
maybe
got this
Dean's...
one.
No,
This is the
no,
only
that's...
one I got.
Oh, Dean should have made you a package.
Didn't really do much
Maybe you can
for
look
me
with-
when I was looking
just
at
look
it.
with
But
Fritz.
I mean, I understand what we're talking
Yeah.
about, so.
I mean, this picture right here is up at the site level or down at the site level, and it shows the riparian area that we'll be doing, you know, in the grant of development rights, and the colored polygons. Dean, Carey did get a picture of the site level map.
Or that one there.
Yeah, when I was putting together the maps, there was the site level, that one.
Yeah, that's it. Well,
That's land
that's one of
cover.
them. That's good, that's good, that's good. So the colors just show the different forested natural community types. And that's what we'll use when we do the easement with the property owner. So now we're getting prepared to do the actual, you know, easement language. This is what the ecological assessment is going to help us to do.
Are people going to be able to hunt on this?
Well, that would be up to the property owner. Like,
I don't see anything written in
no,
here.
we actually thought about it quite a bit, as we do many of the easements that are on that page with the green colorations. This comes up often, and we usually, well, we have always decided to let that be up to the landowner, because while landowners don't want to post, like for example, Larry Johnson, we did that one, and Larry, we asked him if he would not post, and he said, well, I don't typically post, but if anybody makes a big mess, I want the luxury of posting. So they have to look out for their own safety. And so that is really how we have come to think about whether or not that kind of language should be in an easement, perpetual. It's just is a little too not wise, I think. Kate, you might have some other experiences on this too.
Well, it's something we always talk about.
Yeah.
As we do with lots of things, you know, what's good policy? And as Marty said, we feel that it's best left to the landowner to decide what they want to do based on their personal factors and whatever. And the other aspect that we think is important from a land trust standpoint, if we put something in an easement that says you can't post the land, we then have to be the enforcer and the monitor of that, because then that becomes a condition of the easement that we're responsible for keeping track of. And it would be, I think, impossible
Not
for us
practical.
well, we couldn't, I mean, first of all, we have no staff, and number two, that's a pretty complex thing. So easements are generally written with an eye towards what is enforceable.
We've never done it with an open space agreement either. I mean, we just don't have the
It's
staff.
it's just one of those things we think is best left to the landowner.
So this easement, just I learn every time one of these comes up, but this easement is going to kind of be enacted the day of the property sale, and then it'll still be a private property.
Yes.
With this conservation easement.
Exactly.
Got it.
We don't hold property.
There's no public conserved land. Well, there is, but.
Well, no, but I mean, as a nonprofit.
The park is public
Our
conserved
policy is to not own property, so we hold the easements. but we
What's
don't-
our role tonight? I mean, I've been thrown out on understanding, what's our role right now? Because we're not quite there yet. I mean, to approve, which is within your budget that you have,
Yeah.
was about $500,000.
And this property has been shown on our projected list.
This is one, I was going to ask that.
Yeah,
This
it's
is one
been
that's
on
on
there
your
for a
list?
couple of
Yeah.
years.
Okay. So we would vote tonight,
Yeah.
if we're so in mind, to approve the, was it 79,000?
Yes, and then we would have, at least according to our schedule now, 30 days to get the rest of the work done before the closing. So it's a 30-day window between now and, when is
So
the date?
what's the closing? Is that
November 8th.
transferring of land?
Correct. No, it's transferring the easement.
Transfer the easement, that's what the closing is for. The land stays in the family that you.
Well, I mean, a conservation easement transfer it's a land deal. And so it's just like you would go to actually purchase the land, but what we're purchasing is the conservation.
That was my question. So this will be done with the West estate or family, and then there'll be conditional
With the
sales.
easement.
Got it.
Just to be clear, are they planning to sell it?
Oh, yeah.
It's been for sale. I've
I mean,
seen it in picket
This is what
fences
the,
for ages.
this is what.
So it is for sale, this easement is kind of the
They
same
have-
as that. It just puts restrictions on what it is they would sell. Got it.
Well, they're selling the land with the easement.
Right.
Right.
Well, the easement is a
So
restriction.
they
but-
have a purchase and sales contract with the new buyer. We have a purchase and sale contract with the West to do what we're doing tonight, talking about tonight.
Yeah, I just learned something.
What?
I just learned something then.
Yeah. Well, that's handy.
So when you look at the dollar figures between the town conservation fund and the CLT, the town's basically paying for this all. There's no,
Yeah.
Is CLT fundraising the 30,000? Or is that from your budget?
It's
or is
based
that-
on previous fundraising that we've done to do these sorts of projects.
It's money in hand
Yeah.
that has been fundraised over
So it's not, it's not tax dollars,
No.
they go out and call the neighbors and other people that are interested in projects like this, is that correct?
I
didn't understand what
the
you said.
CLT's portion of this
Right.
budget is on hand now in our accounts. And it
Town
is,
account or
no,
state?
our CLT's account, and it is money derived from contributions over the past few years.
Multiple years, you have a fundraising drive every year.
We do 2 or 3 fundraising letters and different things per year, and to build up a fund that we can use for exactly this purpose.
And Lewis Creek's money is actually through the Linnelac Foundation, who is wanting to spend money in this way for a river and water quality activity.
So I'll make a motion to approve the application of the Charlotte Land Trust of $79,000 to come from the Conservation Fund towards the West Property Conservation Project.
Easement purchase.
Easement.
person.
Is that seconded?
I'll second that.
Discussion?
So the terms of the easement are just basically development rights?
Yeah.
The easement will be very similar to several we've done before. In fact, it'll be a fairly straightforward easement. It will be principally, in any conservation easement, you have a list of permitted and restricted uses. And the major restriction is no further development or subdivision. There will also be other pieces in there. It will specify what can be allowed, forestry, recreational
It's written in the
use.
ecological report, is summarized.
And so the eco-assessment helps us fine-tune the terms of an easement. That's why we almost always do one, because it will inform, if it says, there's a specific area of something, that would then be, there might be a little more fine-tuned language
And a management
specific to
guidance.
that. But it's pretty this is a pretty straightforward project, and it's pretty much, no subdivision, no.
But that language isn't here.
What language are you referring to, Fritz?
It's the actual easement language.
We don't have the easement prepared, but like I just said, in the ecological assessment, which is the one with native geographic logo, that's the application.
Yeah.
If you go to the ecological assessment, did you make that? Yeah. It's about 7 pages.
We actually, I don't remember a time
Oh, yeah.
when we submitted an easement draft with the application.
No,
because
we have not.
Typically, the easement comes much later in the process. And this project is a little different in that closing will follow pretty close on receipt of this grant, hopefully.
So,
And the easement is something that comes after.
we're voting, we have a motion to approve the application, but then we have to turn around and vote to sign easement?
No,
Or
The easement,
This is approving.
You're just giving us money and we're going to do the rest.
Oh, we don't have any further.
The town is not involved, and actually never is
Okay.
involved in these easements.
Yeah.
It's a land deal between the Charlotte Land Trust.
What was the
and
one we signed at the law office?
It was an open space agreement.
That's that's
Okay.
different.
Okay.
So that is a town.
That is your job.
But these are,
And be allowed where and when
Yeah, that's a
Was-
Vermont Land Trust easement.
was prepared before we approved the money.
no.
I doubt it.
No, because what we typically can do is tell you generally what is going to be. Now Nichols, there was what's called a special treatment area. And that was, as I was saying earlier, sometimes there are areas within a property that are there's something that you want a little bit more focused language about that particular area. And so like on Dave's easement, that was a little more complex because there was a special treatment area because of some wetland habitat and stuff. This will be a lot more straightforward. But the easement, typically with these applications, we can talk about some of the things that we know will be provisions in the easement, but at this point, we never have the easement ready. In fact, with most projects,
You don't have the legal language, it's going to be submitted, but the outline of what's going to be in it, yes, you can fish, no, you can't hunt, no, you can't have motorized vehicles, yes, you can hike,
yeah, and
no, you
so-
don't have access.
Correct. It will be a typical easement with no subdivision, no development. There will be, on-site recreation, not commercial recreation. Y'all
So
think-
Fritz, in the application, just to be clear about what our process is, it's organized in this particular way, 1 through whatever. Property description, resources, public benefit, project status, etc. That's what we're coming to you tonight for. Once you approve that this is a good way to spend town money on this particular acquisition, we have to prepare the actual agreement with the property owner, which is a negotiated thing with the property owner. And that's what we have to go into, and it's with our lawyer. So, you know, that is a big piece of work that has yet to be done because we need to come to you to know that it's worth going forward to spend that huge body of time and work on the actual easement itself.
And
So-
the easement is a private easement between two entities. It does not involve the town. And I think for the purposes of the application, our representation is that this is for a conservation easement that will protect the property in perpetuity as outlined with the area we've showed and for the values, the natural values that are laid out in the application.
So I understand all the parts. It's private, it's an easement between two private things. Town doesn't have anything to do with it. We're just being asked to designate money for.
What the fund's purpose is that we've set aside money. We've set aside money for this purpose, for the conservation. And there's no impact on us in the near term because the fund has a significant balance. Kate's going to ask us in another month, why don't we bring that balance back up?
It doesn't affect the budget because the money's there, everything is there, but it's still money that's put there by the taxpayer. So when they come up to me and say, hey, you just spent $79,000 of our money, what did we get out of it?
Right, and so
this is it right here.
That's what you're getting is, 77 acres permanently protected.
And once the easement is completed, it's going to be in the vault. So it's going to be there. It'll be accessible to the public.
Yeah, well, that's after the fact. That's after the money's been given.
It's going to reflect this, Fritz. This is it.
And Fritz, not that, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I will say this is consistent with every application we've made.
Well, I understand. The process is like buying a car without seeing the sticker. It's got stuff on it. It'll go down the road.
Well,
You just don't know
You
what the
just need to
details
go out in
are.
the woods and see what's there. That tells you right here.
It's pretty neat.
And then people will be able to go for walks on that property.
Probably this in Vermont, you actually can walk anywhere unless
Unless
it's
it's
posted or you're asked not to by the landowner.
Did you read this application? Okay, so it does talk about people down there and they do walk on the property. But again, it's up to the property owner. If they, all of a sudden, somebody's throwing firecrackers on the front yard, they have to have the ability to protect their whatever. But it is used publicly right now, quite actively.
Well, in the public waterway too, it's
Public
fish.
waterway. It's
Lewis
really
Creek.
close to the town triangle where people really park there, and it's a very active fishing spot. It's also an active hunting spot. Yeah.
That's what's going to be asked.
Well, yeah. I got chewed out last year for taking someone to task for hunting on my property. And they said, you don't have the right to tell me to leave. What the hell, I don't.
If you want the hunting thing, which is actually great that there's a lot of conversation about it, because in many places, people don't hunt anymore. And here, people really do hunt, and it's really up to our community to do the education to say, you know, please don't post, and it's more of a voluntary thing, that it's important for us to do stuff in the paper and to promote it as a neat thing, and that, you know.
There are ways as a property owner to make sure that people still can hunt. You don't have to tell them they can't, but you can weed out the responsible ones from the irresponsible ones. I choose to let the responsible ones deal with that. I say, you can hunt here, you gotta keep the riffraff out.
I live right by the river, and I get quite a range of
how they keep the river.
people that don't ask for permission
No
versus
rules.
people that are always there asking. It's quite a range still of how people treat private property.
Everybody have their questions answered? We have a motion? Ready to vote? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
We'll keep in touch with you about the easement.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. See ya.
Surface water quality.
So this is two things. The second bullet is the annual contract with Lewis Creek Association, the agenda is wrong actually, Association, for the current fiscal year to monitor and report on water quality and perform aquatic invasives control and reporting. The first item is to approve Lewis Creek Association as a preferred vendor for those services.
I'll make a motion to approve Lewis Creek Association as a preferred vendor based on the specific local information that they have that others don't.
And this, we discussed this, I think, not too long ago, I think. I don't think.
Oh, the budget review meeting, yeah.
So this is in accordance with that. Anybody have any questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. And then the second part is,
This year's contract.
So the current one. So he's talking about the current one.
Started
You
July
just-
1st.
Yeah. Apparently we're related in doing it. Okay. Well, thank you for preparing the contract, Dean.
so the contract is in our packet?
It is.
No. This is it? Okay, this is the contract. Got it. Okay.
Make a motion to approve the contract for services dated October 8th, 2018, between the town of Charlotte and Lewis Creek Association. Not to exceed, was it?
That's the insurance.
2,700?
That's the insurance, isn't it?
$2,700.
You want to authorize the chair to sign it?
And authorize the chair to sign.
Yes,
You
you
did it
have.
electronically, there wasn't a witness, you're supposed to sign with a
We
witness.
need a witness.
Where is the maximum dollar value that you just read?
It was in the middle of
2,700.
page 2.
Oh, there it is. Got it. Yep, got it. Okay. So that has been, motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Wow.
$10,800.
Does it have to be notarized
Almost
or?
got
No, just witness.
Mike, want me to just sign it?
Wait,
This is the W-9, we can do it.
Oh, I'll get to it.
851?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Successful evening.
Yeah, thank you. Done. Now we can go do something fun.
This isn't fun.
Well, this is a lot of paperwork. But you guys don't, Shelburne pales compared to Charlotte, and they're like more developed. You guys are getting high tech.
Or bureaucratic. Okay, so we have this is a form for releasing for the generators, a bid.
This is the official RFP.
RFP, request for proposal.
Budget information. Previous meetings, people have brought up questions, well, you'd see under the bid spec, the generators are determined on 115% of the annual maximum load. I think questions had been asked as to whether we should hire an engineer to specifically review the buildings and see which loads needs to be included to size the generator. For general use, common, well, I won't say common knowledge, but the general plan is to use 115% of the maximum load, which comes from, fortunately, provided by our GMP bills. There are situations that require lots of motors, like in particular refrigeration. Compressors are very load heavy when they start because they start with a load on them already. So they may draw 20 amps, but when they start, they'll draw 30. So if you have a lot of motors in your building or a lot of industrial type stuff, it's appropriate to do a site-specific review of what's there. We have an air conditioner and a refrigerator. So with the senior center's got a little bit bigger refrigerator. So the loads classify under the normal category, so that's where the 115% number came up. I just wanted to mention that since it was questioned before.
So this is a total deal. It says excavation, foundation, the generators at these 2 locations. Is there a time period that
Scheduled to be completed by December 31st
Okay.
and operational.
So the bid opening is scheduled for November 13th. I'm changing the time because I looked at the draft agenda to 7:05. But is that enough time, do you think, as far as bid opening and then selection would be on the 26th?
Can we move it up a meeting? I think a month to figure this out. I mean, a couple people, this is a pretty simple installation. They're gonna plop it down next to the meter and go with 5 feet of wire and they're off and running, so.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the advertisement is supposed to be 15 days before the deadline. So.
That's the end of,
It's.
so we could do the next meeting or no?
That's,
I can get it in.
I mean, the previous
the
meeting?
next meeting is October 22nd, which is probably 2 weeks from today, right?
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
That's too close. Okay, so November 13th is the next one after that.
Unless you want a special meeting on.
No.
In the beginning of November?
What,
That was quick.
December
about-
1st is, 31st is, it's probably a short.
Does it have to be, or that was just the
Doesn't
goal?
have to be, that was just the
Why don't you
time.
change
Yeah.
that maybe to just January 15th or something?
Yeah, make it end January 31st.
Okay.
Because they may have to get, so that the step of cement foundation, they may have to,
It's probably gonna be,
Protect it
it's probably
because-
just gonna be gravel.
oh, okay.
And there may be a lot of suppliers will have price increases effective first of the year, so maybe we can buy it and install it the next year. Because the payment is based on you pay for the equipment when it's delivered, and then you pay the balance of it when it's running.
And is this getting covered with the structure or no?
No, they actually don't want them under a roof. They are designed to be out in
In
the
the
world
elements.
like an air conditioner.
Yep, okay. And then, where's the storage side of this?
The propane tank will have to be somewhere not too far away from it. So for example, ours will be on the corner outside Dean's office on the west side of the building. That's
Yep.
where the electric service is.
Yep.
So we can put a propane tank somewhere in the bushes over there.
And
Senior
how do you-
Centers is again in the center of their building on the backside, so that will be completely hidden.
So there'll be a dedicated tank for the generator or
Yeah.
Yeah.
enlarge the existing tank?
Yeah,
And what's the convention for sizing, how much you have on hand for, do you have like a week's worth of, you know, as far
There-
as the emergency preparedness side of how much fuel to keep on?
probably I don't know, probably like 3 to 5 days, I would suspect.
And then get a tank that is that
The
size
fact
or
that this is
bigger?
a designated tank generator will make that simple as opposed to like the one at my house also feeds the house. So if
Right.
they haven't filled the tank for a week and then the power goes out, I'm already down on propane, so.
Do we want any kind of automatic test, like every 60 days, it just goes off for?
It does anyways.
They come with a time clock built in. You program it for once a week, once a day, once a month.
Is there,
It just switches over.
Is there gonna be like an annual inspection by somebody?
There should be a maintenance And did we ask to
I
include
didn't see
maintenance
anything for
information here?
maintenance on this.
Warranty.
That'll depend on the contractor. There's, for the budget, I got two prices, one from electrical contractor and one from somebody who does nothing but generators. Now, the generator company will have a maintenance program.
And what are we doing for the fuel? This ain't gonna be our tank, it's gonna be a fuel tank, it's gonna be a
Yeah.
propane tank, so I mean, now we're gonna have a propane company that's gonna have to install a tank. So that
The
has
senior
nothing-
center has propane already. We don't.
Right,
But it'll be,
but they may need to increase the size or put an additional one on.
they'll put a separate one on, it's
And-
the spec.
Again, so now you've got a propane supplier now that you have to have installed, which I know doesn't pertain to purchasing the generators and installing the generators, but it's still another additional charge that we have to look at.
Budget item.
And probably both are one-time expenses, and then the time we have an ice
Yeah.
storm, then we have to refill that tank.
I think,
But it should
I don't
be-
know.
once it's full,
Well,
it
this
should
generator will,
Oh.
as Fritz says, will
Kick
kick on every so often, and you need to get propane for it
Top it
because
off.
it's gonna use some during its test mode.
Right.
Which
Few
happens
gallons.
like a once a month or,
I'm trying to, I think the prices were like 32 and 40, and we have 50,000 in the budget. There was an extra 10, which
For-
would cover
Tanks and lines.
if there's any incidental carpentry work that's not covered. They may have to make a new cover for the beater box or something, and that will be,
or electrical.
electrical's covered. If you need to do, there may be here, the plywood cover has a hole for the meter, and they think they have to change that, so we'll have to pay someone, a few
So
hundred
is
bucks to do
To
that.
modify what's on the building.
Yes, that's not included in this, and nor is the propane tank, but
Is
usually,
the electric circuitry so that when it comes on, our power shuts off and the generator comes on, that's all part?
It's automatic.
Where do I see that? I don't,
that's pretty close, well, that's what a standby generator does. It comes with a transfer switch,
automatic.
automatic.
Okay.
Did we put,
Maintenance agreement is not needed in the proposals?
we should probably put,
Just provide them?
we should probably put install propane generator and transfer switch in the first paragraph. Just because we didn't mention it in the spec.
You want to have the contractor install, subcontractor have the propane hooked up, or does that come free when you're buying propane?
There, depends on your supplier.
Yeah, a lot of times
Or is it-
propane companies will want to install all their own stuff anyways.
Patterson in our case.
Because they're gonna have to pressure check it and everything anyway, so. Yep.
Okay. And you made that January 30th?
Yeah.
There isn't a 31st.
No?
30 days says September, 30 days, no, there's a 31st, isn't it?
I think
Yeah,
so.
it's the 31st of January, it's fine.
Okay. Any other comments?
So I'm sorry, just one more time. The maintenance agreement, do you request information about it or not?
They'll provide it, like the one that already does generators and has their own maintenance program. I suspect two of the bidders will have that. I know one of them is an outrageous price, because I do my own.
You don't want to add another price, annual maintenance?
I don't think some people will be able to do it.
Okay.
Like I said, if you get it from the lowest price we have is from an electrical contractor who buy the generator, install it, but he's not a motor maintenance guy. So then we can make that a separate thing. We'll send that out for, once we have the unit, if we know it's gonna be a Kohler, then we'll send out a price for a Kohler maintenance agreement.
And that might even be below the threshold for bids. I mean,
Well, for one unit, the one that I think is expensive is like $380 a year. They come out and change the oil and look at the battery, test the battery, and that's it.
Do we want to pencil in the site visit date, or is that something you want to do after we approve it?
Oh, it can be a site visit, it can be a number of site visits. I really don't care.
So then maybe in site visit, just a mandatory site visit for contractors?
Yeah, I would say a date to be picked later, because we don't want to pick a date and it's raining like hell and everybody has to walk around outside.
Right.
So,
Contact, me or you.
yeah, they can contact us, and if,
I'll contact you.
as long as the
Done
same,
bidding on this can contact.
as long as the same person does it and the information's consistent.
I mean, you have the thing in there, so I mean, do you take it out or do you?
We could say a site visit is mandatory for all contractors submitting a valid bid
Contact them all.
to schedule, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what, and then
That
it
plan
doesn't
on,
have to
that
be
plan
at
on, that
once.
plan on
Submitting
a bid.
valid bid, yeah.
You know,
Does that mean before the bid's submitted?
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they have to.
Maybe because of the
they have to
standard,
Look at it.
yeah, I guess,
Right.
because the installation.
Mandatory site visit for all bidders.
Oh, so when are these due? These are due,
November 13th.
so I would put that in, a mandatory site visit
Prior to submitting bid?
for contractors would be held on a date before,
Prior to the bid date.
prior to the bid date. Sounds good. Which is November 13th.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the town of Charlotte request for bids and bid form for the installation of 2 generators at the Charlotte Town Hall and Senior Center issued October 8th, 2018 as amended.
Any further comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
What's next? Patterson Boiler Preventive Service.
I'll make that motion to approve Patterson bills
Okay.
for boiler preventive services.
Effective, or was this for the time period
Okay,
January 1st for 1 year?
for 1 year, yes.
Has that been seconded?
Yes.
What's the price?
Well, they lowered their labor rate. Yeah, we reduced our first hour of
Yeah, they
labor
did.
rate from $115 to $90.
Oh, yeah, I see that. Raised bill, was it for the first hour? After normal business hours, okay. Any other questions?
Had any problems with them in the past?
No, very.
Okay.
All in favor of the motion, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Next one is climate systems.
Yeah, I'll make the motion for that. For Climate Systems, Inc., to do preventive services for the air conditioning and air handling for what date?
November
November
1st through October 31st.
There you go.
Is that motion seconded?
Second. Two agreements for them, one for HVAC and one for.
No, there's one for each building, one for the town hall, one for the senior center, one for the
And this one
library.
is for town hall on your motion? For the town hall?
For the town hall. You want me to do both?
We furnished at an annual price of $610. Building advance.
I've got library, and senior center.
Oh, they're all three. Do you want to do all three in one motion?
Yeah,
Or modify your motion?
sure, I'll modify it. So that's the town hall, the library, and the senior center.
That's what the Patterson was too.
Yep, okay.
Was that seconded?
Yes.
You did? Okay. And they're all the same dates? Yes, they are. Any further questions on that motion? Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any select board updates?
Fritz, they talked about a fan in the lunchroom or in that closet for the systems. Do you remember that?
There was an email.
What was it?
Yeah.
That was what, like a year ago?
Yeah, CSI actually proposed the fan. I think there was something about the electrical connection that you didn't like.
I think. Maybe that was it.
What's that?
It's really expensive.
I thought maybe it was expensive.
Rather than just leave it.
Versus keeping the door open?
Well, yeah, the door open's probably a fire department problem. It's a rated door.
So I think you're asking to revisit it?
Yeah. There was a bid. Can you dig that up?
Yep.
And we'll look at that again.
Yep.
I frankly don't remember why I didn't like the bid, but then I guess I just dropped the ball.
Okay.
I think I remember you saying it was really expensive now that you say that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that somebody brought to my attention, on the east side of the firehouse, got a bunch of box elders right up against the foundation, some scrub trees, as well as there's some box elders on the west side of the west side cedar hedgerow that are growing up and slowly going to kill those cedar hedge.
And then fall over.
And then
Swamp
fall over.
maples.
And so it was suggested that really, wouldn't take very long for an excavator or somebody to go and pull them out. In the cedar on the east side, you got a whole bunch of trees. Unfortunately, I left my tablet, but I did take pictures today, and I talked, and I was like,
Well, yeah, I'll talk to the
Yeah,
building.
look at it.
I'll talk to the building committee over there.
That's you.
yeah, I'm told that those trees on the east side are just scrubby box elders.
There's a cherry tree and a couple
Wow.
other things that they've pruned. I know
Yes.
John Davis has pruned them once or twice this
But
year.
this was right up against the foundation, you'll see.
Yeah, well, that's
Right next
building
to
on a
it.
slab, so that's not a good idea. The foundation's not.
But then I think that there's 3 maybe on the west side
That are
of the
polluting
cedar
that
hedge.
hedgerow. Okay.
So you're
Well,
looking-
they certainly have the capability with chainsaws as to whether we pull them out with an excavator.
No, probably, yeah, chop them
I
down.
just cut them down
The
regularly so they
roots
don't
were
root.
the,
They're already under the building. I don't want to pull a root ball out with it.
Definitely not.
well, but the
I
hedgerow,
don't want to pull them out.
Yeah, just kill them.
Yeah. And the sprouts come up, you can round them up.
Get some of that stuff you spray on a stump.
Exactly. I had just a question about the, I guess we could talk about it next meeting, but how does the Halloween, we rent the lighting?
We do usually, yeah.
Josh has volunteered his time we rent the lighting, and they've had like a couple lights either side of the fire station, right?
Setting up 4 trailers, one at either end, one at the town, and one here, I think.
And they block off the road?
They retard.
They just put them on the side of the road, right off. There's the little tiny trailers with the mast that goes up. Temporary lighting.
For the lights.
Yes.
So car traffic is still going through?
Yes.
Just slowly?
The traffic.
And then the kids are trick-or-treating just the houses on Ferry Road here?
No, Greenbush too. I went last year for the first time. And this year, I'm gonna stand back as a nan and let them all.
Just wait at the senior center as well?
Old Brick Store?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Fire station,
senior
library.
Library.
Have
The
trick-or-treating
Quinlan-
setups.
And then the houses, and then down Greenbush either way.
Got it.
So I think we have one trailer at the intersection, one at either end where they stop.
There is, yeah, way down by the old lantern.
We have to make sure that people
Like by
don't
the
turn
old
them off.
lantern.
Somebody turned them off one year because they thought it ruined the ambiance.
Ooh.
Okay.
The kids get hit by a car.
I don't remember it so much in the
So,
North Greenbush.
last year when they delivered 4, we made sure they asked for ones that had the little door that locks, so we had to put locks on them so people couldn't turn them
Oh,
off.
good.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll be doing it someday.
Someday.
Matt. You'll be
Maybe this
trick or
year.
treating.
Someday.
There's no doubt.
I like both of them to be walking.
I was gonna say it's much better. When we first got started last year, they were just kind of like walking. I said, "Don't you kids know you're supposed to run from house to house?" Pew! It was great.
We did Hills Point Road one year. Parents just dropped us off, walked down and back, and they waited at the beach for us. But it snowed. I remember that.
Any more updates? Minutes, is there a motion to accept the minutes as may be modified? September 24th?
Sure.
Okay.
I noticed something on 160 jumping forward that it's the West Burying Ground, right? On Greenbush Road.
Yes.
Yep.
Wow, that's a good catch. Wow, you're getting an award for that. Huh, that's great.
Better get a really nice fence in East
Charlotte.
Westbury Ground.
I actually think it's much easier to call those cemeteries the West and East Burying Ground. 'Cause I can never, Barber, which one's Barber? The West? And what's the East one? That's a B too, I think.
I didn't remember Grandview. Grandview's behind the church. I don't know if it's...
Yeah, I think the one in East Charlotte is. I think it was Stephen Brooks who brought up the East and West and using it regularly, and I think it's much easier that way.
I concur.
The West Burying Ground.
I didn't see anything when I went through these. I don't know if you guys found anything. Thought I didn't miss that one.
Oh, was that the extra stuff in my mailbox, Dean? Were those maps I didn't get?
Yes.
Oh, I just thought of that. I never went to pick them up.
All in favor of the motion of the minutes of September 24th, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Okay.
Make a motion to go into executive session to discuss potential real estate transaction. / purchase? Is that next?
Yes.
Second.
If we wanted to do 2 items, do we need to have it, can we do 2 items in the one executive session?
To discuss, but let me revise that to say, discuss potential real estate transaction and employee performance review.
That's been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Now, I don't think we're gonna take any actions here. I mean, do we need to keep people, we're gonna just discuss a couple of things, I don't think any actions are appropriate. So we could come out of executive session and advise Dean to advise Kathy.
When we adjourned.
Yeah, when we adjourn. Does that sound all right to everybody?
Sounds like a good plan.
Okay. So, we're done as far as, okay, thank you.